Three, two, one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Monday night. Hope your day was good. This is Late Night Comics featuring myself, Ash, and my two illustrious partners in crime, RDV and Zach. How are you guys doing tonight?
Better now that you call.
I didn't hear anything you said.
Yeah, you broke up. I already failed.
Oh, what?
I don't know,
It's not my
something
fault.
technical. Yeah.
Discord.
Let's take
Is
two.
it? Are you going
Hi.
to say it's better now that we're not told to be quiet on the set?
Hi. Take two.
I,
How you guys doing
Take
tonight?
two.
I can't feel my legs. Oh well.
I'll be doing fine if Discord decides to work.
Ay. All right, we're not going to do a take three. Zach's doing good. RDV's doing good. I'm all right.
There's Discord in this chat.
I'm drinking a energy seltzer. What about you guys? Got a nice beverage for tonight?
Any Alka Seltzer?
Yeah, I wish I had some Alka Seltzer. No, energy seltzer. True
Never heard of
North.
that.
True North It's called Pure Energy Seltzer. I guess
Interesting.
it's seltzer water with like vitamins and caffeine.
I'm drinking Rocky Mountain Piss, Ice Mountain Water,
Oh, nice.
straight from the Rockies.
Straight from the Coors factory. Nice.
You can taste the deer and every other animal that's up there. That's in the water.
Awesome. What about you, Zach?
I'm drinking G Fuel because I'm a gamer boy.
Hell
You're
yeah.
a PewDiePie fan?
Wow.
I don't know.
G Fuel.
Wait, what?
You're a PewDiePie fan?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my sister gets it, so she loans me any like extra flavors that she has laying around.
Now,
So,
is it like the mix kind? Like
yeah,
you,
it's the powder that you mix into the water.
yeah. Is it good? I've never had G Fuel. Is it good?
Yeah, this one's not bad. There's some flavors are better than others. This one is like a blueberry flavor. Um, it's not bad though.
What's the
Sec-
caffeine intake percentage?
I'm not sure exactly how much caffeine. It's a significant amount.
So my
Um,
question is, does it work?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it
I
works. Yeah,
I was always skeptical about like energy drinks that were like from a powder mix. I was like,
no,
I don't know why,
I
but I
mean,
just was. I was like, I don't think that stuff works. It's just Kool-Aid.
My heart's already sped up hearing anything like that. Ugh.
it's like any other caffeine. It's like if you take too much of it, your body's just gonna get used to it and adapt. But I mean, because my sister uses this stuff all the time. She, she told me one time she just took a spoonful of it and just chugged it dry. Didn't even mix it with water.
Oh my goodness.
She was that much in need of caffeine. She's like, yeah, it worked though.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I can't have that much caffeine because otherwise my heart will stop. I've I had NOS back in the day when it came
I
out,
remember Nos.
and I literally my heart was about to have a heart attack just by having a sip of it.
Jeez.
I can't. Yeah, I know, right? It's like so I gotta stay away from high caffeine. The closest I get to any high caffeine is Orange Crush. That's like 60 grams or
No,
whatever.
he says that, then he'll drink like a 12-pack of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, one day, bro. No, it
I had
lasts
a
about.
I had a Monster the other day for the first time in months. Man, Monster tastes so metallic. I was like, why did I ever drink this? But then I ended up drinking the whole
Monsters
can.
really hit or miss. They have like
Yeah.
way too many flavors, and I think they don't focus on the good flavors. Um,
When I was in high school, I liked Full Throttle. They had like the red can.
mm,
It tastes like Sweetheart.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. If you're a person that doesn't like the taste of energy drinks, my recommendation is Rockstar Fruit Punch. It just tastes like Hawaiian Punch. Like it doesn't taste like energy drink. It's unbelievable like how they got that. My favorite's actually Red Bull, which I used to hate, but somewhere along the line, like my brain switched and it was like all of a sudden one day I was like, oh, I like this taste. No, so it's weird, but also not all energy drinks are the same. I think that's why I was
No,
like skeptical about the G Fuel powder stuff because like Monsters, they don't I don't feel like they work that well for me. But like if I drink a Red Bull, it like really makes me go, oh, like
My niece was telling me some study she read about people are drinking Red Bull and they mix it like you mix it with Jägermeister stuff,
uh,
and they said like it's worse than doing cocaine.
it's it's
So
worse.
it's like I asked her how is that possible. She's like, I don't know. I'm not the scientist here. I'm just a person who reads it.
I gotta say, I've had Red Bull vodka, and it's a thing. Like,
I
the problem
Jägermeister.
is Red
Yeah,
Bull is like more expensive than the vodka.
it is.
Red Bull's
I'll mix it with
crazy expensive.
Jägermeister, Red Bull and Jägermeister. That's why I could drink Jägermeister. Ugh.
Oh
But
yeah, Jägermeister's. But
there's let
some of the fast food places are doing like Red Bull now. Like Sonic has like their Red Bull drinks where like they take like some sort of fruity concoction drink and then they put Red Bull, mix it, and then they make their own. They have like 3 different flavors. You gotta pay like
yeah.
$8 for one of those things. I'm like, geez, I'm not. Come on.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna have Red Bull, I mean, have already mixed in with the Jägermeister. I'd buy it that way at the liquor department. It's already pre-mixed.
Oh, they have
But
a pre-made ones.
no, I'm saying if they ever did those, would be awesome.
Oh
But
yeah.
I've seen like there's a peach Red Bull now, and then there's like my brother's like pick up the yellow can for him. I'm like yellow can. I'm like there's 2 yellow cans. He's like he's like do you want this one? No, he wants the other one. Like he drinks the zero sugar one,
Mm.
but I don't know. I've had Red Bull normal, and I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
that's how I was initially. Like I said, one day it just clicked for
Now you're
me.
an addict.
Well,
Your
no,
body
I'm not an
adapted
addict
to
because
it.
it's way too expensive. You get like the little 8-ounce can and it's like $4, and I'm like, come on.
Dude,
You want the?
soybean was awesome.
I don't know what that is.
The little
Sobe water, Sobe Life
Sobe,
water.
Sobe, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They had the little lizards on it.
That when they were a tea company, I used to love them. They used to have a triple ginseng tea.
Hmm.
Love that. They had another one called Lightning, or it was made as Black Lightning, one of the two. And it was a black tea, um, fantastic. And then for some reason they decided we're gonna just do fruity flavors, and then they kind of went away. I haven't seen Sobe in a long time.
I just remember they had the lizard on it. It was a green
Hmm.
can.
Yeah. Well, they used to be bottles.
Oh, that's what
Gla-
it was. The bottles. That's what it was. Yeah,
yeah, glass
90s. Yeah.
bottles with a big mouth screw top.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love those. Miss them. Oh well. Kind of like Snapple. Both those companies, I feel like, lost their way,
Is
and now they're
Snapple
dead.
gone?
No, they're
No,
still
they're still
around,
around.
but
I
now
never see them.
they're like in cheap plastic bottles now, and all the cool flavors that like Snapple used to have. Like Snapple was a tea company too, like, and now it's just like mango juice. Like they have these like weird fruity flavors. I'm just like, just I'm not paying all this
Because
money for a
yeah,
cheap drink in a plastic bottle.
like where's Snapple? Is it still sold at Walmart or is it like a dollar store thing now?
No, I see them at Circle K.
Yeah.
They only have like a couple
Yeah,
flavors.
they used to have the whole shelf.
I know Snapple used to be a thing. They kind of kicked off the whole tea market.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing. That was Brisk was the other one,
Well, that's
or Arizona tea. I mean, those are the
Arizona tea, because that was you get like the huge cans and it was only 99 cents.
yeah. I think
Mhm.
Arizona tea killed Snapple because Snapples were kind of expensive, and then Arizona had those. They had like those gigantic 24-ounce cans, and it's like 99 cents, and you're like, why am I paying
Yep.
$3 for a little bottle of Snapple? I could buy the
Right.
Arizona tea. Of course, the Snapple was made with like natural ingredients, everything. Like the Arizona tea is just fructose corn syrup and like all this artificial crap.
Oh,
But
man. I couldn't get.
I can get 3 for the price of 1 Snapple. I'll take it.
I didn't like either one of them. I had a sample before, and I was like, it was supposed to be a fruit punch or normal, and I just, I couldn't get into it.
I'm telling you, it was their teas that were the good stuff. Like when they went to the
Yeah,
fruity punch
yeah.
things, I was like, I could just, I don't know it. And
Like
it's funny.
now,
It's
I
funny.
just like.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I simply now just stick with Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah, Hawaiian
No.
punch is good.
It's so generic, and then you get the little bottle versions too.
Yeah.
So if you do buy the big version, you can just refill your little bottle, carry it with you.
But I think it's
So
interesting, like the whole I was just thinking about this, like the Snapple thing and how Arizona tea kind of replaced it. How America really just doesn't care about quality. They just want cheap, like
yes,
value. And it's like, I don't want to pay for a craft beer. Give me Bud Light, like we always kind of just go for like the mass market cheapo like and it just put hey I came up with this really quality cool thing and then someone else comes along and says I can do a cheap version of that with cheaper ingredient.
ooh,
Like look at pizza. Like Pizza Hut's the number one pizza chain. It's arguably one of the worst, but that's what people want.
it
you know
is it the number? Is it the number one? Oh,
I
what would
like it.
maybe like I think they're bigger than Domino's.
I
I
think
see a
so.
lot. I see
Domino's used to be really good, and then they changed their recipe on the sauce. It was like,
Mm.
somebody said that they're no longer doing delivery for the pizza anymore in California. I think it was or
Oh,
somewhere.
well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you got all the Grub Hubs and the DoorDash and the like. You don't even need to
Well,
do delivery drivers anymore.
because
it's true.
I think
I
Breen
think
had
Domino's out here, they still do delivery drivers. I think Little Caesars does too.
I think Breen was the one to mention. I can't remember what state he was talking about, but he said that he's like, yeah, because remember he had the raise the minimum wage. They said screw that. They fired all the delivery drivers, and
Yeah,
now if you want to get it, you can pick it up yourself.
yeah. Because in California, like in some states, like when I was in Colorado, I don't know if it applied to delivery drivers though, but like if you work on tips, like if you're a waiter, you make like this bottom barrel, like you make like $3 an hour.
Hmm.
They don't have to pay you minimum wage. California, they still pay you minimum wage and the tips. And California's minimum wage right now is $16, and Newsom's trying to push it to 20. And so it's like, yeah, like if you're a small, you're a Pizza Hut, you're like, I got to pay my delivery driver $20 an hour. Like we sell $10 pizzas,
You know, you know what the argument I always see people think, well, it works in other countries. They have this. They have no problem. They pay their people living wages because we're
Yeah.
a capitalistic society. We won't do that.
In other countries, living wages is like $1 a day.
I was like,
I even saw today how California added like a 4% charge to bills because it's like I guess it's supposed to help cover health insurance for the restaurant that the servers work at.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's like so yeah, the bills in California got jacked up even higher.
well, this guy on
Yeah.
Twitter was saying about them putting the tips, mandatory tips. Like we have jobs that people survive on tips.
Yep.
It's where he was in Italy. He got like a nice, like a $30 meal, and it wasn't expected that if you're tip, he's gonna tip, and he's like says we don't need tips, because you get quality service. Now he's like, now I come to America, it's like they want to tip for everything. And it's like for just super things like we held the door over you, so now we need a tip. What? It's like simple things that you should be able to do yourself, and it's just a point where tipping, has become like such a fad, and you're ashamed if you don't tip.
Yeah.
Or I've been like I was on an IHOP about 10 years ago, and like we're not making enough money here, not enough people tonight. It was enough business, so everyone now mandatory tips. And that's the last time I went to that IHOP.
Yeah,
I
you're supposed to tip based off the quality of if you get a good
Yeah.
server, you tip. If you get a
Yeah.
bad server, you don't tip.
I
And
do
hopefully
not.
the bad server learns how to be better, so they get better tip next time.
Also, waitressing jobs they're mostly temporary jobs. It's not a living job.
That's true. They're not meant. Most cases, they're not meant to be long-term jobs.
So I don't
Not saying
mind.
it
I don't
always
mind the
works that
tip
way.
industry, like, but to an extent. Like when I go to a sit down restaurant, in my mind, I understand tipping is part of the process. If I go to a bartender, tipping is part of the process. If I go to a nice hotel and I have a bellhop, tipping is part of the
Yes.
process. Like I just, if I don't want to do that, I don't go to the nice hotel, like it's, but I don't
go-
tip. I don't do the whole like Subway, I gotta tip you now. Yeah,
McDonald's.
another one is pizza. If I have a delivery, like you deliver pizza, I tip the driver, like part of the process. I get. Otherwise, I'll drive to the pizza place myself. Like I don't mind that. What I don't like is how it just gets incorporated into all these different things. Like anything anyone
Yep.
does now, it's tip, 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 and I'm like, No, no, no. That's not how that works. Like, I'm not. Yeah, that so I don't see the complaint because otherwise the option is this. Like I would say, well, the tipping is okay. Well, you know what's going to happen is you're going to go to the restaurant and they're just going to raise the price by 20% anyway of your meal to cover the paying, the waiters and stuff, and you're just going to pay that anyway. So it's not
What?
like you're paying extra. So people who go like, I don't want to tip, it's like you're getting a cheaper meal because the restaurants can hire staff to serve you because
Hmm.
their incentive is the tip industry. If you got rid of that and went like the European model where they don't tip, you'd be paying about 20% more
Well,
at the places anyway.
all right. So what I've seen is that they include the tips already included in your meal. They figured it into your price of your meal you're buying already, and then they still expect you to tip on top of that.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's
that shit.
terrible. If you do
Oh
like
my god.
yeah, I've seen some restaurants like that where and a lot of restaurants do because we have a shitty culture, right?
Yeah.
It didn't used to be this way, but now you've got people with like, oh, I got a party of 10, I got a $500 bill or $1,000 restaurant bill, the waiter, and then they like stiff them. So a lot of places, if you have like a lot of restaurants, it's common if you have six or more, they just do a mandatory gratuity onto the bill. But then I
Hmm.
don't I don't tip beyond that. Like that's your gratuity. Like, if they're really good, maybe I'll add a few extra bucks, on the table. But no, that's the tip. Like you shouldn't tip twice. Like if they do a mandatory
Right.
gratuity, there you go. Um,
Like example, coffee stores is brought up. You're going to a coffee store, they're making a coffee thing, and it's a generic coffee, and they're like they
uh,
expect you to tip. It's like I could have just made a coffee myself, you
See,
know.
I do that. So I used to work in coffee, and tips were, it was like 50-50. Half the folks would tip, half the folks wouldn't. And for me, it all comes down to quality of service. If you're good, if you stand out, if you do all of these certain things, like they do if you're polite, if you're courteous, if you offer refills when in, someone, if you do all that and you get a tip, it's good. If you don't, if you're just a grouch, you don't look up, you don't look a person in the eye, and you can't be upset when they don't tip you.
Well, my thing is, if you're just pouring me a cup of coffee, just literally just pouring a cup of coffee, and you expect a big tip,
I
I'm
would ex-
sorry.
I wouldn't
well,
expect a
hold
big
on,
tip.
hold on, hold on a second. I'm not pro necessarily tipping the guy, but if you go to a coffee shop, like even a Starbucks, and you're not. Most people aren't just getting a cup of coffee. If you're getting some sort of specialty latte, there is something that goes involved in making it.
But if I'm
Um,
just going there for a cup of coffee, and that's all I'm getting,
Are you
and
getting it black, or are you getting anything added? Do you get cream or
no,
sugar?
just get it plain.
Are you getting a bagel or a biscuit or any kind of pastry to go with it?
No, you just get a coffee to go, and then they usually have little packets of sugar you can grab too.
You're a boring coffee customer, sir.
Well, I don't need all the foamy weird stuff on it.
and
Hey,
that's
all
fine,
that
and that's
foamy
totally
weird
fine. But
stuff
you're
is
probably not going to Starbucks for that, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
would
You
rather
wouldn't
go to
No,
want to
no,
7-Eleven
indulge.
no, no,
and get a
no.
and get a
Yeah,
cup of coffee.
but imagine 7-Eleven starts asking you to tip.
Well, you make your own coffee at 7-Eleven, so
I know, but imagine. Well, somebody had to make that coffee in the machine, so they raise the price. So
right. No, totally. But I'm just saying a good barista that makes you like a fancy coffee, especially if you've
oh,
seen
with
the
the
ones
heart
that
in it.
do
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
art on it. Like
yeah.
I can
Yeah,
That's
understand.
coffee art. Yeah.
yeah.
Again, I still don't tip. I don't tip a coffee person, but I'm not opposed to like what Zach was saying that if someone does give me like really great service and kind of goes out of their way and I'm like impressed, throw a couple bucks in the tip jar or something. I'm not opposed to things like that. But I also think for the most part, people working in that position aren't like expecting to get tipped every time. Like if you're a waiter, you expect every table there's a it's a cultural like unwritten rule that you tip. Like it if you're yeah, if you're the guy at the Starbucks and but most of the Starbucks out here, I don't know about you, they suck. And not just like that they make a bad drink. Like the drinks are fine, but man, I don't know about you. I remember when Starbucks were a thing like decade or two ago, when they kind of you'd go into Starbucks and they were all nice and had like really nice
Uh huh.
chairs and couches and tables, and it was like a place. The Starbucks by my house now, it's almost completely stripped down. There's like one table, these like really uncomfortable, like shitty chairs. Most of the place is just like empty floor space.
I think
And I'm just
they
like,
all started to be like that after COVID because when I
Like,
start, all the Starbucks by me are the same way now. It's like very limited chairs and seating.
and so people
Yeah.
like and I started noticing this because I don't really frequent Starbucks, but I started noticing this when like someone at my church would be like, "Hey, you want to meet up for coffee or something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." Like, where you want to go? Like, and I was like, "Oh, Starbucks." Like, I don't know any other coffee places because they don't. Starbucks kind of drowns them all out. And I'm like, I don't really want to go to Starbucks because it's not a cool place. Like, it used to be a nice place to just like sit down and have a cup of coffee and you could socialize. Now it's just like a counter. Like you walk up and I'm
I,
like, and I'm paying $6 for a coffee on top of it. Come on,
yeah,
no.
I'm paying $6, and then like, but my original point was like, tipping never used to be expected. Tipping was just something you did for rewarding for good service. Now it's like it's mandatory. It's like, well, then put that into
Well,
the price of coffee.
within
If it,
reason. Like I think there were a couple, like the couple of the mentioned industries that I talked about. I think tipping was like you're always expected to tip your waiter. I think.
yeah, it's like tip your waitress. It's like you hear that. It's like if you're not giving me I mean, you would be giving me above and beyond service. Good, you're gonna get a good tip. If you just came over and like what you want, and then pours the coffee and what you're chewing gum, you expect a tip? You know,
Well, if they're not
it's
good, I'll give a low tip. But if you're good, I'll
yeah.
give you a high tip.
Well, no, every time I come into it, they expect you. It's always got to be 20%. Anything below than that, you're like, remember, it
Mm.
used to be 10%. Now they raise it. Now you should be getting 15 now.
15 is the barometer. A lot of
Now it
people do
is.
20 just because it's easier to do in your head. Calculate 20% than it is
Yeah,
15.
but you're right. $7 for a cup of coffee. That's not
Yeah.
even like fancy artwork in there. It's
Yeah, no, it's
it's like
expensive. And like I said, and for Starbucks, I was like, you know what? At least if it's got like a facility, if I can sit down, bring my laptop and sit in a nice chair, use their space for an hour or two, like, and have my coffee, all that's kind of built in. But if it's just a walk-up
yeah.
counter and an empty store and you're still charging these prices, and also the people you're hiring are a bunch of Gen Z, like, I can't even be bothered to be
Well, yeah.
here,
I get
like,
my I don't sit there. I get my cup of coffee. I grab it and I go. You know.
yeah.
And they still expect you, like they look at, well, why don't you tip? All you do is hand me a cup of coffee, you pour it in there.
Oh,
I go to the vending machine. Let me see me tip in the vending machine because they did the cup of coffee for me.
yeah, no, I never tip.
It's
I never tip. And
it's
what really bothers me is a lot of the takeout places. Like for example, last
yeah,
place I went to was this Chinese, this little Chinese kind of buffet. Um, it's not a buff. It's I can't even describe it, but it's like a Chinese you. y- It's like a mom and pop version of a Panda Express, but not Panda Express. It's kind of like that. And you go through and you pick out, I want this, put and they scoop it all and you put it in your plate and you take go. And when you ring you up, it's got the little like you swipe the card yourself and you input. And it's got the little computer, and at the
yeah,
end, it's like, how much do you want to tip? And I'm like, I hate that. I'm always like, no tip.
yeah.
But I hate the fact that I have to be like right in front of them hitting no tip, because like what you said, it's kind of like a shaming process where,
It is.
and I know people who are like will tip something because they don't want to be like a jerk who hits the no tip button.
Every place does this now, though. And
Yeah.
what you're talking about, where you go up there, pay, it's like, do you want to put a tip, or they have the tip jar right there.
Yeah.
Right in front of you. It's like tip. It's like thank you for tip. Thank you. So it's like it's like, and they stare at you like, and you look at the tip jar. You're looking at them. It's kind of like a skit, like an SNL skit. Like, are you gonna tip? And you quick run.
It's got the good bad the ugly song like playing in the back.
Yeah. It's like David Spade said. He said he's in California, and he said like they have those. Are you gonna donate to Walgreens? Donate to charity? He's like, do you want to round up? It's like, what's your tax? $8.20. You want to round up? He's like, can I round down? There's a line, and he says because I'm a celebrity, or at least someone famous, somewhat famous. There's people behind me, and they're watching me. And it's like, what the hell do I do? Do I go, like, obviously, do I pay it, or do I just
I
or
hate
say,
this. I hate the soliciting for
Oh,
charity stuff. Where you're ringing up, you're at the grocery store, yeah, like what you said, and it's like, hey, would you like to round that up and donate to the blah 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 fund? No, give me
Taco
my
Bell, I
I
say
mean,
no.
change.
how?
Like I
But
didn't come here.
that's such a small insignificant thing though. Like, if it's just rounding up to the next dollar amount, then yeah, sure, that's fine. But like, if
Why?
you're gonna ask me for like $5 or $10,
I'm
then
I'm
like
sorry.
no.
We're all poor. So you want us
Well,
to give you 90
well,
cents
here's the
more than
thing.
what I'm
Like I
paying
used
for?
to go to the
Right, if
grocery
you're
store.
spending if you're spending if you're spending like $9.80 on something, you're not gonna donate and just make it an even $10.
But Zach,
That's
no.
correct.
Zach, listen to me. See, you already it's like you already donated to one place for this. Now, and you get shamed where you go because they don't know if you did or not. It's just the fact, the mentality, they shame the person who doesn't tip.
Okay,
Not all of it.
I'm
Not
not
all
gonna.
of it is the roundup. But even
Yeah.
the roundup, some of it's like, would you like to donate $1 to this or whatever? And obviously, they don't want to. You can donate more than $1. There's different amounts. My point though is, I just came. You have a retail environment. You sell products. I came, exchange money for your products, and now you're actively soliciting me and putting me through a process where I have to like feel guilty because if I say no, it's like, oh, he doesn't want to donate to like save the kids, right? And you're in line, so like everyone's listening to your answer,
Yeah.
like,
That was
and
David
it's just
Spade. He
like,
said he's
and it's like,
like
I get it that it's maybe only be 30 cents or whatever, and it's not that big of a deal. But first of all, I'm already pissed off every time I have to pay 10 cents for a grocery bag. Would you like grocery
You pay
bags
for
today?
grocery
And I'm like,
bags?
I'm at the freaking grocery store. Yes, I want
yeah,
grocery bags.
California charged them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 cents a bag.
You need to get out of California. That's
Yeah, I
I feel
know.
like
Oh
if you
no,
get out of
dude, it's
California,
coming.
that's your
Dude, this is
problem.
coming to you soon. Don't you worry. You will
What you
be
need to
charged for
do,
grocery bags.
Ash, start selling
Well,
grocery bags.
I shop at Aldi's where they don't have grocery bags. You can either pay 99 cents for a tote bag, a
Mm-hmm.
reusable tote bag,
Uh-huh.
or you carry your own stuff. So there are no grocery bags at Aldi's.
And
So
is there a
if
loophole?
you go to
Can
the
you
store and
like
you forgot your grocery bag, now
right, you
you're
pay
now
99
you're
cents
now you got to
or
pay a
69
buck.
cents. Yeah, a buck. It's not that difficult. It's
so
$1.
so can you like make a profit of selling those bags that you bought? Like go to eBay. Here's like get your money back.
I mean, that feels like I think it'd be more hassle. I mean, you're talking
See,
$1.
this is a good example
Stuff in
though, like of the
Stuff in
generational.
Louisiana is a lot cheaper than it is in California.
This is an example of the generational disconnect that like it's like me, like I grew up, not only did the grocery bags come included with your groceries, but you also
Yeah.
had a guy called a box boy or a bag boy who would,
Yeah, bags.
as you were getting rung up, he was bagging all your stuff for you, and he had a skill set. Like he didn't just bag it; he organized it right. He put the canned goods with the canned goods, the chemicals with the chemicals, the produce separately. Didn't smash your bread, all this stuff. Now I got to pay for my bag. I got to bag my stuff up, you know. And when I left Colorado, I remember making fun of California when they started charging Californians. I was like, oh man, I'm glad I'm not in California. Then I came to California and I'm like, it's been pissing me off ever since. And now Colorado didn't, not only since then, they started charging for bags, and now they ban bags altogether. So you can't even get bags at a grocery store. You can't even pay for them. And it's become like what you said with Albies. So sounds like Louisiana's following that trend too. You're just going to get to a point where you just have to bring your own bags. And if you don't, hey, we sell this 5-cent bag that we imported from China that you got to pay $1 for because you don't want to keep bags in your car all the time for everywhere you go. It's just a stupid. We're a first world superpower. We went to the moon, and now we got to do all the. Anyway, I'm not going to get on a political.
Take a breath, Dalton. I didn't realize you were joining us tonight. B, Aldi's, for all the talk about bags, have some of the cheapest prices and the best value at Aldi's for groceries.
And their soda sucks.
It's just a principle thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, principle, you know what? That's a principle I will give up if it cuts my grocery bill in half.
Well, I'm gonna say right now.
We have plenty of other grocery stores. Like we still have Walmart, we still have Albertsons, we still have all these other places where
here's
they
my
do
thing.
have the baggers.
Add a penny to every product. Just add 1 penny to every product. It'll cover the cost of the bags. Like, you know what I'm saying? To me, First of all, because it's not even that the grocery store is charging me the 10 cents. It's because Gavin Newsom said, or not California, the government says, here's this fee and charge, and you can't have it. So the grocery stores don't even have the option. They legally can't just give you a bag. They have to charge you. So if you want to be a grocery store and say, you know what, we're going to cover the cost, they can't do it. It's so retarded. Anyways, let's get to let's get to the people in the chat here, because
this is why I come to the comic book channel to talk about the finer.
I know we got on a long bender, and I apologize. I like to just warm up with casual talk, and then sometimes we go overboard. That's my fault. I apologize. Marani was here first, so we want to give her all the credit. She says she's here to listen and support, and we thank you very much, Marani. She has been a long time supporter of the channel, and just all around good person in the community.
You should just call your channel "Keeping It Casual" with Ash on Comics.
I know. You just should.
That's a really long name.
Just call it "Keeping It Casual." That's your channel name.
We make some sort of acronym. Keeping it casual. So it's kick with Ash on kick walk. Kick walk.
Kick walk.
Kick walk.
Kick rocks.
Kick rocks.
Kick rocks.
Kicking Rocks with Ash on Comics.
I can't even think now. Our HR goes vocals here. He's second. Rhaegar's in the chat. Good to see you, Rhaegar. And who else is here? Seeing some familiar names. Maybe not.
There's Eric Green right there.
Eric Green joined us.
He stayed up just for this.
Ah, so nice.
Green's like, I heard someone said my name, so that's why I'm here.
You
know what? We'll call it Kick Venkman, and Venkman will leave. Thank you, Rhaegar. You gave me an out. Yeah, guys.
Jeez.
Demands it.
Tahilam is here. He says, good to see you all. Good to see you, Tahilam. Hope everything is good down under. And Rhaegar says Vivek was right. Yep, he absolutely was. Eric says grocery bags are better. They better be gender neutral. Nice. Let's see. Rhaegar says call it Kick Venkman. No, we like Venkman.
I prefer Kick Vic. That was a great topic.
Kick Vic. Oh, I remember that.
He's been making. I saw his stuff on Twitter earlier today. I was like, man, I completely forgot about all this controversy. But I found out he does like a daily devotional stream, I think on his website.
Huh. Like a devotion to God stream?
Yeah. Like he reads. I don't know if it's the Bible or not. It was like an announcement video he did today. So I don't know if he's been doing it or if he's just starting to do it.
Oh
wow.
But
yeah, it was like I was on his X account or his Twitter account.
Oh, no wonder they wanted to kick him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
It never fails to surprise me that people that get canceled like, oh, they happen to worship God. Oh, what a shock.
Chris, Monica Weill and Chris Schemmel. I was like, yeah, cancel Funimation.
All right, so we got 2 books that we're going to be covering tonight. For those of you who didn't read the title of the stream, we got Ultimate Spider-Man Numero Uno, and we got Transformers. If you made it this far in the stream, chances are you already know all about what we do, but just in case there's someone who hasn't ever watched before, this is a very, very casual, unscripted, chaotic stream where it's called Late Night Comics. Really, it's just an excuse for a bunch of comic fans to get together and talk about a few books and then other things too. It's just like a friendly hangouts, community driven. So sometimes, as you can see, we get off topic, and hopefully that doesn't annoy anyone. But we try to rein it in.
But tell us down below in the comments.
Yes, tell us down below in the comments.
Do you not tip?
I think I enjoy talking about comics. Absolutely, but
Ash on tipping, AOT.
My whole life is not just comics, and I enjoy hearing what I don't get to socialize with you guys too often, so it's fun to have these conversations. So tonight, which book do you want to go first? Do you want to do Spider-Man or you want to do Transformers?
Let's do Transformers first.
You want to do Transformers first?
I would say that, yeah.
All right. So
Well, Zach, do you mind, or do you want to do?
I don't. Oh, I have no preference. I'm just here for the ride.
oh,
Zach's like, I'm not even paying attention.
Why would you say that? I'm here.
You're doing laundry still?
No, I stopped doing laundry a while ago.
Okay,
so
continue.
before we get into the actual, oop, this is the wrong book. While I'm pulling up the book, why don't you, Manklin, why don't you tell me why Transformers first?
Well,
Any
Daniel
reason?
Warren Johnson, Transformers, because I also think it's not the best book. I think
Oh,
they're both still a great issue, but it's not as cool as Ultimate Spider-Man was. That was because Ultimate Spider-Man was my number one book of the week.
wow.
And that's why Ultimate Spider-Man is actually the thumbnail of this stream.
Well,
See?
that might be a misdirect. We'll see.
Uh,
Transformers was excellent. Well, so we'll get into this book. Um,
It
I,
was.
I like them
That
both.
is true.
yeah,
They were
I
both.
enjoyed.
They were both top tier quality
I
books.
enjoyed them both, for sure. But Transformers, I think I've enjoyed every issue of Transformers. This issue might be my favorite so far, and I feel like
I
that's
do
always a
agree
good
with you on
sign
that.
when comics, when the story is getting better rather than kind of getting worse. um, so for me, that was a good sign. Every issue's been good, but and maybe sometimes this is because you're building to something, and so that it's an illusion that you think the issue's better than. But I like it. And I just love Danny Warren Johnson. There's a certain thing about how he writes comics. Um, I feel like he's got a worldview, or just how he thinks of stories and heroes and things like that, and how he presents it, that really clicks with me. That I like. I also really I love his art, which is funny because I used to hate his art, but like the Red Bull, like it just one day it clicked for me, and I was like, oh, this guy's great.
Just got
Um,
old. Gave in.
I got hold and gave. I stopped resisting. Um, no, I didn't like it at first because I just looked at it at a surface level, and to me, it just looked really muddy. I usually prefer like really kind of crisp lines. Like I come from the Jim Lee generation in the '90s, where I just really tight, clean inks, and if that makes sense. And like Danny Warren Johnson's art looked really scribbly and muddy with heavy inks, and then at first glance, I was just like, ooh, it's off-putting. But once I got past that and got to appreciate the art itself, it just grew on me, and then it worked. And now I love it. And one of the things I think works is when an artist draws their own writing, they're able to like render what they imagined. When an artist draws for another writer, the artist kind of has to reimagine what someone else imagined, right? So, for example, when we
Yeah.
cover Spider-Man, Jonathan Hickman writes a story. He's imagining this story of Peter Parker and Spider-Man stuff, and then Marco Cicchetto gets the script, and his brain is going to read that script and imagine the scenes playing out slightly different visually, maybe than Hickman did, and that can work, and that's the norm in comics.
Do
But
you think they
sometimes,
start?
real quick, when you can get when an artist is also a good writer, because not all artists are good writers, or vice versa, there's something magical that works. And you know I think Danny Warren Johnson, for me, is one of those people that his writing and his art are like both top tier, and when they come together, it just works better than separate. Like if a Danny Warren Johnson was drawing for someone else, I don't think it's as good as when he draws for himself, and vice versa. When he writes, I don't think his writing for someone else comes across as good. The best stuff for me for him is when he does both.
Yeah, I was gonna say, very few actually where you actually get the art actually captures what the writer's saying, and I think a lot of times those guys do storyboards first before they. It's like you see a movie, any movie, there's a storyboard and what they plan out, and then they may redraw it a few times, but sometimes those writers and artists have like you get the correct pairing and they have the same vision and it lines up. Other times it doesn't work and it sucks. But it's easier except if you have a good writer who's also a good artist, definitely. And then he doesn't have to worry about trying to explain anybody. He can just draw it first and then add the dialogue second if he wants to, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And it helps too for, in my opinion, for writers to tell the story visually, right? Because sometimes I think a lot of bad writers, and I'm going to use Bendis as a good example, feel that the writing is all in the words, and they forget that they have a visual medium, and you can tell a story with the visuals. I don't need you to always spell it out with words like what's happening and stuff. And if you're if you're also the artist, you can incorporate that into your writing because I want to show the scene this way. I want to tell the story by revealing these images, and I don't necessarily need to rely on everyone talking through the scene, if that makes sense. Anyways, this is Transformers, part of the Energon universe by Daniel Warren Johnson, colorist Mike Spicer, and the all-important letterer, Russ Wooten. Everyone always cares about the letterer.
Right.
So we're going to trust that you guys have been following along with this book. I don't think I'm going to give a recap. Hopefully you're reading this. This is really good. Even if you're not a Transformers fan, I've never read Transformers comics in my life. Well, I dab. Like I never was a Transformer reader. Just it didn't work for me on the page. But this was Daniel Warren Johnson, so I gave a chance.
Yeah.
And anyways, go ahead, Bankman. You want to say something?
Yeah, real quickly, and I'll let you talk. I want to say because since the worm is out of the can, that he's leaving after issue 6 as far as being the artist. He's gonna be only a writer only. And Wes, so we're thinking critical, and I agree with him highly on this, is that he's pointed out is that Daniel Warren Johnson draws hardcore metal Transformers.
Yep.
The guy they're gonna replace him is a little bit soft. So you might run into where it's not, you might not get the cool stuff. You'll still have the storytelling.
Soft. Like he does the cover for the new artist.
He
did the cover for number 7.
He did.
Fine.
He did Jurassic League.
That was Daniel Warren Johnson.
Did the art on that?
No, he didn't do the art though. No.
Yeah, he did.
No.
Daniel Warren Johnson wrote.
Someone else drew
and did
Jurassic.
The art. I read the book. He did both.
Pretty sure it was someone else. Let me look it up. But yeah, like I said, like the reason I kept reading it is it's not for the much of the storytelling, it's more as just the art. Optimus Prime taking his arm off, beating somebody with it, like, dude, that's freaking metal. And if this that takes away the edge is taken away when he's not drawing it, someone else is drawing it, it could ruin the book for me. Maybe not you, Zach, but
Juan Geddon did the art for Jurassic League.
Yeah.
He also he was also the co-writer of Jurassic League.
Yes, Juan Geddon, yes, all the way through. And that's who's bringing on, I guess.
Is it the same guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Look quickly. Pretty sure it is.
So they're probably friends.
I think he's coming on for the next. But I don't know. Like I said, I honestly hoping it doesn't. But when I get something like Transformers and I really love that, and then you need the art because Daniel Warren Johnson is what I'm getting for.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it mainly for his art, more than the story. The story is a bonus for me, but his art is phenomenal. And then you decide you're gonna put somebody else on the art, and it's just like it could still be good. Zach's right. The cover is cool, but the interior is where it plays out. Cover means nothing.
I don't necessarily think Juan Geddon is a bad artist. Let me switch over to
because Mike Spicer's still staying on his colorist, and it's going to be issue 7 is gonna be actually Jorge Corona. That's what it is.
Oh, it's a different one.
George. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't. It's not even. There's no
Well,
point in comparing now. So
he's been working on Jay Garrick the Flash #5. So I don't know, like it, and I guess that's what it was. He drew Batgirls. Remember that series with DC Batgirls? He does more cartoonish art, so maybe he will fit. Who knows? But Daniel Warren Johnson definitely has different art, much darker, more detail. I noticed than anybody else in the comic. It's like getting a great version of Mike Deodato. But I'll let you continue. You can do the review.
oh, no worries. I was just trying to pull up.
It's,
I thought Wongeddon was the guy they're bringing on, so I was trying to bring up an example of like a cover he did from Jurassic
I
League.
thought too. I was
But
mistaken.
but he's not. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm a little let down. But I mean, I didn't expect anyway. When I heard he was doing Transformers, I was like, wow, I can't remember the last time Daniel Warren Johnson did an ongoing book. He's kind of
I
a
can't remember the last. Well, I was
he's
saying,
kind of
I
like
can't remember the last time I actually cared about Transformers.
right.
It's-
Um, but he's kind of like a Frank Miller in that way. That to me, like that he's really good, but he does like short little miniseries stories. He doesn't do ongoing. So my suspicion is that's kind of what the whole thing with the Transformers is. He's coming on, he's like launching it, he's getting it going, but he's got other projects that are probably in the back of his head that he wants to do. And if
Mhm.
you're an artist, typically you can do one book. So if you're on an ongoing, you can't do anything. As a writer, you can, we see it all the time. Writers can manage multiple books. So that's my suspicion. Let me get put back on the comic. So let's cover the book here. We start with Starscream showing up at the aftermath of the battle between Skywarp and Optimus that was featured in the last issue. And this is so Transformers tropey, but I loved it. I think tropes are like a form of comfort food for me. If you're a fan of Transformers, I think you'll dig it. And we see Skywarp's like, oh, Starscream, help me. This actually is a callback from I think it was the Transformers movie, the original animated movie where Megatron's like, help me, Starscream. I expected
Yeah.
Starscream to just blast him in the face and be gone. But he just leaves him there to die, so to speak. And he says, well, don't worry, I'll be back. But, Starscream, you don't know if you can trust him. And then we cut to the page and Optimus is racing away with Spike, who's dying. You can see all the battle damage. And this, I think, harkens to me like what you were saying about the metal aspect. Just look at this
The art-
page.
yeah, the damage,
The damage,
is curving.
the
not
curving. Yeah, the way he frames this shot, you just feel the speed. You see Starscream in the background, just blasting away.
Well, he writes the screen out too in the arts. I love that.
Yeah. And Optimus is calling into base and saying, like, hey, we got a problem. Battle damage and everything. And we cut to the cab and we see the, human drama of a father holding his dying son. And then Starscream just lands in the middle of the road ahead of Optimus. And it's like, your time is up. And he, brace yourselves. And then we cut to another scene, interior of a car. And we see Carly. She's like, last chance to ditch, Carly. Are you kidding me? And she clicks the seatbelt. Get his ass. And this would have been better, not better per se, but it would have been fun if it was Sideswipe, because he sideswipes a Starscream, and it's just a really cool shot again of just like clipping him behind the legs. I just love his choices of like angles and viewpoints, and then Optimus runs over. Go ahead.
The other thing that Daniel Warren Johnson does puts a lot of wrestling into his books. So the different artists, you may not get the wrestling moves.
Right.
I want. He does a freaking suplex, in this one. I could love it.
Yeah, we haven't got to that yet, but you're jumping ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I love that. That's another reason I love Daniel Warren Johnson's art. He does this.
It is a fun thing that he adds. So we'll stop here for a sec. Zach, give you a chance to weigh in on the book so far. What were you thinking, like when you were reading up to this point?
Yeah, no, this is like I said, I was with you. I thought this was the best issue so far of Transformers. Yeah, I like everything about this. Starscream just I don't know, this has been like his best, like most evil. Like this completely changed my outlook on or my opinion of Starscream. Everything that I've seen him in, I was never a huge Transformers fan. I just kind of knew him from the Michael Bay movies.
Mm-hmm.
Saw him as like this sniveling little guy. But then this one, he just really takes this turn and becomes like this real, uh, villain.
Mm-hmm.
Maniacal. Tearing other Decepticons apart to do his own thing. Uh, yeah, no, I really dug it. And then yeah, the Optimus Prime, the battle damage Optimus Prime was such a cool look that he gave you all the like edges are crinkled up. It looks like aluminum foil almost. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I like what Daniel Warren Johnson's doing. The Starscream that we get feels true to the historical Starscream as he's portrayed in G1 Transformers, but
Yep.
he tweaked him just slightly. And like, what I like about what Daniel's doing is he's made Starscream like he's up to the competence level. One thing I always hated about Starscream was he was always
He's a
trying to
coward.
undermine Megatron and become the leader, but he was always like this failure at the same time. And so it made me just like be like, get out of here, Starscream! Like you don't know what you're doing. Like, but I like this idea of a Starscream who has the same personality, but he's also not a complete loser. Like he has some capabilities, and that makes him a little bit more scary, in my opinion.
I remember like he finally gets a chance to shine, and then he'd like when he realized I was going away, he'd like defend me. Someone
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
It's
So we cut over, and Optimus Prime races into the emergency uh, section of the hospital, and he transforms. I love these captures, by the way, of like where it's like mid transforming. He does this with Starscream here too, where it's like in the mid. I think that just looks really cool, where you catch
Yep.
mid transform. So he's like, help my friend, and so they're loading him on the gurney and they're bringing him in. And just as that happens, Laserbeak shows up and starts blasting away. They have to fight him, and he's like, "What?" And then I think that's Rumble that also shows up and
Rumble,
blasts
yeah.
Cliff Jumper, and then all of a sudden Soundwave shows up and gives a big old kick to the face. Uh, and it's like, oh, it's not looking good for the Autobots. And Starscream shows up after that. He looks and he's like, oh, this is where they fix the squishy ones.
I know.
And you can just see the maniacal, like, evil, like he's just like, and you can just tell even before he announces, like, what Starscream's thinking. And he's like, this is what they care about. And he just starts blasting the hospital. And you're just like, oh my
he
gosh.
talks. Well, remember he bends down, leans over to Optimus Prime to rub in his face. Then he's like, "I'm gonna do it now."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
He's
It's just such a villain, man. And you see him there operating on Spike, and then boom, boom, and then so, and just like that, we cut over, and then we see some Autobots coming in. And I just noticed this. I didn't notice this the first time, but I'm looking closer.
It's
Is
Ratchet.
that Ratchet? But he's towing Optimus's trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that the first time. And so Optimus and Jazz. Now this confuses me a little bit. I want to take a second. I don't know how much you're a Transformers guy. I thought this was Wheeljack, but maybe for those of you guys that are Transformers fans, I remember Wheeljack was the very first Transformer I ever had. I remember going in the store, my grandparents, and there was like these new thing. Transformers was brand new. There was no cartoon yet, but it was this thing that we knew about because GoBots were the thing, and GoBots were kind of cool and stuff. But then it was like all the kids are talking about, yeah, but Transformers, they're like GoBots on steroids. They're amazing, but they were expensive. And so I remember my grandparents like, you can get one, and I picked out Wheeljack, and I liked it because I was a big fan of Porsches, and I thought Wheeljack, it could be confusing, but maybe I'm just old and senile. Anyways, this is Jazz, and he shows up, and again we get the cool like he's screeching and the fighting, and he again mid transform. I love it, and they're fighting off the Decepticons. And this is where you get the suplex thing that you were talking about before. Soundwave gets distracted. He looks back at Starscream. He's like, "Huh?" And then gets grabbed behind the head, and bam! Just such great
See,
action scenes. Go ahead.
it threw me off. It's right because I remember Jazz. It's probably because of the Michael Bay thing. Jazz was a cop car, I thought. But
No, Jazz wasn't the cop car. That was Barricade. Or
but I
maybe not Barricade.
don't know why.
The cop car was a Decepticon.
It's been a while since I watched G1, so I couldn't remember if that was what the case was or if I was remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I saw this. I remember Jazz was at least a Porsche of some sort.
There could have been multiple
car.
Porsches. I'm just trying to go back on my old childhood memories.
Yeah. So this was a bittersweet for me seeing Jazz. I'm like, oh yeah, because Jazz is coming in, he's gonna do this, and then like, and then I thought, I mean, like, wait, where'd they get the extra energon from?
Right. Well, don't jump ahead.
I'm not jumping ahead.
I know I'm warning you before you do because you have the tendency to do that.
When the giant T-Rex came out, I was really shocked, and I know Zach was happy because it's dinosaurs.
Stop him, Zach. I'm gonna finish the scene real quick. So he suplexes Soundwave. That would just such a cool move. And then we cut over. We see the Autobots have regrouped. He's like, "What do you say, Decepticons? Shall we finish it?" And then they run off like the cowards they are. We're outnumbered. Retreat. And so they fly away. And then we leave on Carly's face. And we'll cut. We'll stop there for a sec. Zach, what were your thoughts on this next section?
Of course, the Decepticons run away, freaking cowards. No, yeah. Holly actually, yeah. When we come up on her, we haven't gotten there yet, but I think she was honestly, as far as humans go, I think I'm liking her more than Spike, but
to be fair, Spike is pretty much in a coma the whole time.
To be fair, yes, but she has this really cool scene that we're going to be coming up on that she shares with Cliffjumper.
What about these scenes that we just covered, though? We'll get to those scenes.
These scenes that we just covered, yeah. I mean, it was very Saturday morning. The Decepticons run off so that they don't have to, you know, they make their attack and they run away. I will say Starscream attacking a hospital. That's again the villainy of Starscream. More than just being a Megatron boot kisser. You know, him like just wanting to like tear apart humans and destroy humans. I was like, dang, Starscream, chill out, dude.
Save the squishies.
Jazz, though, I will say Jazz coming in like that, especially with the vroom lettering. And then like his whole transforming sequence from car to Autobot, that was really cool. That was an entrance. He comes in, his arms are coming out. I know Vickman likes this where you can read the sound effects.
Yes.
It was really cool. It was a little confusing because he's doing like this countdown thing, but it's out of sequence. Like it starts with like, what is that? It starts with 2, and then it goes to 5. And I'm just like, what are you? And then 1. I'm like, what are you doing, Jack? But then, as they Ratchet gives the explanation for that later on. But it was a little confusing. But yeah, Jazz's intro was really cool.
The artwork on this, you get the sense of how fast he's going, the speed. Rumble attacking Cliffjumper behind. You see Cliffjumper going into like warp speed. I just noticed that again. You go back at that page where you see Rumble attacking him, and you see him. I'm like, oh, there goes Cliffjumper. He's gone. Right there, at top.
Oh,
Right there, upper right. The
Yeah.
pow, and you're like, oh man, look at it. That is very cartoonish. You know, it does everything. And then you see the Starscream's his. It's very much. I'm reading this in. I think it's Frank Welker does the voice for Starscream. Can't remember, but it is. I'm just reading this in the G1 cartoon
Yeah.
voices, and
Yeah. There's certain Transformers that have iconic voices like Optimus, Starscream,
Megatron,
Soundwave, and I think
Megatron.
Megatron. Like in my head, I hear those voices. Um,
So when I just it's like just everything. The 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 colors are bright.
the coloring,
You're
yeah,
oh my gosh, the coloring on top of that, so Mike Spicer does the coloring, but
Yeah, he
not
does
just.
a really good
But
job.
but the explosion, look at the flames, and you see the boom, the sound effect, and you see stuff flying, the detail. That is just crazy,
yeah.
it's just the level of detail. You know,
Ab-
some people would say like, "Oh, that's really rough drawing there." I'm like, "Well, no, there's a lot more detail. It pops out
yeah,
more. It's stylish."
Hmm.
yeah. I love the sense of movement. Like that, I
Yes.
think that's what Daniel Warren Johnson does for me so well. I mean, he does a lot of things well, but one thing I think he really excels above his peers is that his pages never feel static, right? Like even though when you're drawing a comic book, you don't have the advantage of like animation where you actually can show movement. So you have to kind of like elicit the reader's imagination to sort of like animate it in their head. So when they're looking at these panels that are still in their brain, they're seeing the movement. And on this page
Are
particularly, you can just see on the top frame where you just like, okay, here's Jazz, and he's like stepping on the pedal, so to speak.
are you, are you able to do panel by panel or just page?
No, no,
Oh, that'd be cool.
yeah,
I'm looking forward to getting some Comixology, seeing what they look like panel to panel.
yeah. But you can see here on the top panel, like and then the second panel, he's speeding up. And panel 4, you just get that
The
feel of like
drifting,
screeching, and
yeah.
and yeah, he's
Yeah.
like he's doing the hard left turn, and you just feel the movement everywhere you go. And then right here in the transform stage, you can I don't know, I can just see like him popping out off the ground, transforming into the robot, and he's fighting. It's just there's a lot of visceral action that he
And the
captures.
comedy too. You see Starscream, ow!
Yeah, for sure. But it's just something that a lot of comic artists, they might draw pretty pictures, right? There's several artists that I go, oh my god, it's like you
You know,
draw cool pictures of people standing around or in cool poses, but it
you know what's crazy?
what's that?
I never noticed that Soundwave has exact similar helmet as Prime does.
It's not exact.
Well, similar heads, man. Just
It's similar.
case
He's
a
got
little
the same
different.
kind of like face mask
Yeah, the
thing that
goggle
Prime
stuff.
has. Um, but I get Prime has eyes. Uh,
Yeah.
so one thing I like what Zach talked about, like the Saturday cartoon feel. I wanted to piggyback on that, because I think you nailed it. Like it has that feel that the cartoons had, but with one big exception that I think makes so much of a
Murder.
difference.
Murder.
It's not murder, but you're
Splat.
close. It's it's one of the things I hated even as a kid. I was like, I think I was like 12 years old or 11 or 12 when the Transformers cartoon originally came out. I can't remember exactly. And I can remember even at that age watching the Transformers cartoon being like annoyed that not that I wanted to see death, but like you have these two factions, Autobots and Transformers, and they're shooting guns at each other over and over and over, and no one even ever really gets hurt. It's like pew pew
Yeah.
pew, lasers go everywhere, things blow up, and then they both go their separate ways. And it's like every single time, and I never felt like there were stakes. I never felt
It
like,
was it was the same way with GI Joe
yeah,
because it
GI
was
Joe was the
like
same way
it
too.
was like lasers instead of bullets, and it's just like, really, y'all, really?
I didn't mind the lasers in GI Joe. My point was is like
Pew
it's like
pew.
I even as a kid remember thinking, oh, they dumbed it down for kids. There can't be violence. There can't be any, and I'm like, but they're robots. They should be able to get like, I just, it annoyed me. I knew cognitively like why that was the case, but because they had to like fit within certain ratings and whatever, but it just bothered me. Here in the comic, I'm like, this is the Transformers as a kid that I would have loved. Not that I wanted to see death, but I want to see stakes that people can get injured, like seeing Optimus Prime like lose an arm, and it just it feels like things are on the line every time. When I watch the cartoon, I was like, oh, no one's gonna get hurt. It's like reading X-Men today. Doesn't matter whatever happens because whatever. So that's one of the things that I like, but it still maintains the fun and the good like youthful uh feel that the cartoon was trying to elicit. Moving on. So we cut off from Carly looking up at Optimus, and we see Optimus. The next scene, he's staring down into the ruins of this hospital, and Spike's still being worked on, but they don't have any power. Power's still out. And so they're like, this dad's like, what does that mean? Well, we stabilized, blah, blah, blah. And then we need a generator. We needs to be put on a ventilator, blah, blah. And so we get this heartfelt moment of the dad. He's like, oh, it's going to be okay. What are you going to do? And Prime's just looking on. You can see in his eyes. And then the dad's like, oh, my beautiful boy. And then we see Optimus is opens up, and he's got the Matrix, which if anyone's seen the Transformers movie, this seems to me a harkening back to that. And he uses it and brings power to the entire hospital, and all of a sudden the doctors are able to do their work, and there we go. So go ahead.
It's just funny every time I see He's of the Matrix. It's like, and Ratchet's just like, no, stop. This time he's like, I'm gonna do it. Screw you, Ratchet. it's but yeah, because I can't remember what the power of the Matrix is. I just remember it was like it's passed on from prime to prime to prime. It was the spark, like I didn't realize it had the power to heal things, stuff. So
well, it can heal Autobots because it's energy based. It doesn't heal humans, but it allowed him to bring life essentially into the machinery of the hospital, which is what the doctors needed to do their work.
What did they use it in the movie though for? I remember Rod used it. Hot Rod. Did he open it up?
Yeah, in the movie, Hot Rod has it, and he becomes a Prime because of that. But yeah, I think in the movie there was a little bit more to it.
I think he used it inside Unicron, and that's what destroyed Unicron was the.
I need to go back and watch. I haven't watched that movie in like 30 years.
Right. The best themes, the theme song, bro. They should always use that theme song.
Oh my goodness! Right? I actually should just like play the soundtrack when I read this comic. Zach, we'll start with you though. Give us your thoughts. What was on your head as you're reading this book?
At this point, it's like Optimus Prime tries to use the Matrix for leadership. Ratchet says, "No, be responsible." But yeah, no, seeing him finally use it, I don't know, it felt almost underwhelming, but then at the same time, it's like this would be a very Optimus thing to do.
Yeah.
Give up something that keeps him alive to help someone else. I was like, yeah, this is totally in character. So I mean, which is good. We talk about characters being written out of character. That is not the case here. So that was good to see.
One thing I liked, to me, this was like one of the most emotional parts of the book. I like that I think Ratchet has a really good argument that he makes throughout the book about like, you can't use it for this. Like, and Optimus is making more of an emotional decision about like, no more death. Like, we can save him. I have the tool to save him. I'm going to use it. Where Ratchet's being more pragmatic about, Ratchet's probably making the decision I would make. Like, yeah, we're going to lose someone, but think about the bigger picture. But Optimus is making sort of the more moral choice of like, you do the right thing. It doesn't matter if it costs us, but it's the right thing to do. And I like that there's no like Daniel Warren Johnson never tries to tell you what the right answer is. Like he lets you as a reader decide for yourself. But anyways, I thought this was kind of emotional. I
Yeah.
like that Optimus is connecting with the humans in life. Go ahead, RDB.
I was just saying. I mean, at Ratchet, he's probably thinking like a war because he cares more about Cybertron. This Earth
think-
is a casualty to him because he's thinking as a doctor, thinking about it, it's like, well, yeah, we could do this, but you only get one charge out of this, probably,
Mhm.
you know. And if you use it for this, you can never use it again. So like Optimus Prime doesn't have an arm, you know. And this is our last defense. Now you use it to save one of the squishy ones, you know. The only one who's really befriended, he hasn't befriended any the kids, has been Ratchet. It's been Cliffjumper and Optimus at this point.
Yep.
So that's what I can think of. He's more mature. He might be even older than Optimus, probably no.
No, we don't
He's
know.
probably, yeah. He's
Seems
probably
doubtful,
thinking,
but possible.
he's like well, his point is like we're in a war, and that's our trump card. And if you use it for something other than the war, you know, we're screwed because we're already depleted as if no energon. It's only 3 of them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So he's more worried about surviving than he is caring about the kids, you know. So I could get it, you know. I get what point of view is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's what doctors have to do, right? Like you have to triage, and someone's like, "Look, we can't save everyone. We got to make sure we use our resources the best." And
yeah. So I understand his reasoning, but I also understand Optimus Prime too. He's like, dude, I didn't. We brought this war to them, so why would I not save one of them? You know, this is our
Yep.
fault.
Yep. Yeah,
So-
Optimus here is very much like a hero. I get real Superman vibes with
Exactly.
Optimus. Like this is
Ex-
like what Superman would do. So we cut over back to that ship. I
Basically,
forget the
we'll find
name.
another way.
I forget what the name of the ship was, but the where this all started, and we see Soundwave's bringing in Skywarp, and Starscream's all frustrated. This is all your fault. You can't repair the Teletran. And of course, the Decepticons are bickering, and then they start talking about how like they don't have the right resources they need. They need Cybertronian technology, and they look over at
Oh,
Skywarp, and this is so like
Oh, I feel
so
so bad.
Starscream. He's just like, oh, I know where we can get some Cybertronian technology, and they rip Skywarp apart. And he's like, no. Then we cut back to the hospital.
Optimus
And
looks it looks really funny in the bottom part. I saw that. I was like, he's transformed for the kid. He's just like, what if he gets stuck like that?
so
transform.
Spike's dad. Just wait till we get there, RDV.
I know, I'm
Spike's
saying
dad
it.
is he's beside himself, and he's he's talking basically to the audience here, but he's like, oh, I was trying to protect you from the war, and we can see now some of the explanation of this character, why he was in the earlier books, because he's got, I don't know if PTSD is the right thing, but he's war scarred. And he just like talks about how he doesn't see good in the world anymore because he's seen so much atrocity and evil and stuff, and he just wanted to spare his son that. And then when his older son died, it just sent him further. And now that he's facing, possibly the death of his younger son, we're just kind of seeing him confess to the audience. It's a little bit emotional. And then he hears something outside. Excuse me, Mr. Optimus, and he looks outside. I love this camera shot, how it's viewed from his point of view. He's looking out the window and he sees the kid, and it's just like he's a patient, maybe a cancer patient, we don't know. And he's like, I heard you can change into a truck. Is that true? And here's Optimus Prime, battle scarred, and just he's like, and he takes the time to be like, indeed, young human. Can you show me? And he transforms. He's like, oh my God, it's awesome.
And
And
I got Roger Stern vibes from that. Like the kid who collects up Spider-Man and some other stuff he always did. That's usually something he'd do.
So I thought this was a good moment, a good way to show how Spike's dad, could see the Transformers as more than just machines. He like could see
More than
like
meets the eye.
right, more than meets the eye. But for lack of a better term, like see their humanity, like their and so and he's like, my son, he's like, that was not me. And he's like, can you change him back? And then he starts explaining that was a gift that I was given many years ago. And he's like, can you do it again? He's like, I used every bit that was left. There's nothing more. Which to me I thought was very powerful. Like it signifies like that was a major sacrifice that the Autobots
What if
made.
the Matrix power comes from love, compassion, and recharging?
I do have a feeling they're going to find a way to recharge that. So I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
Um, so I guess we'll stop there. So it was a little quick scene. Zach, we'll start with you again. What'd you think about this? How'd it played out for you? Anything stood out?
Yeah, just Optimus and just his his attitude towards the humans. I mean, look, he lost an arm. He can't revive most of his teammates and his crew. He has that thing where he's like, yeah, I gave everything I have just to give that one charge to get the hospital back up and going. Then he takes some time to transform for the kid in the hospital. Yeah, just I mean, you nailed it. It just shows off his humanity. So yeah, really nice scene there.
And Venkman, what about you? Anything you wanted to add before we move on?
Well, I mean, I just talked about the whole kid with the cancer thing. I'm
Mhm.
going back to Murder Falcon vibes, bro.
I don't know that he
No.
has cancer. I was
No,
just
well, I mean,
speculating.
he's in the hospital.
But
He's on a
sure.
He's a kid. He's not
Yeah.
in there because he wants to be.
Well, for
But
sure.
I mean, like, it's just like, this kid probably, who knows? Maybe he spent his whole entire life in the hospital, or at least has. And it's just this is the coolest thing for him to see. It's like really awesome. And it just really perks him up. Like, and honestly, I don't know if Daniel Warren Johnson has done this other than Murder Falcon, involving like kids, people who are sick and stuff. If this is a second time he's done it, or more. I didn't read the Many Deaths of Layla Starr and some of his other books he's done, or do a power bomb. But he really captures like the
Layla
whole.
Stars are Ram V. But yeah, do a power bomb.
Sorry, yeah.
No,
But,
there's no sickness in do a power bomb, but there's other things. But
I mean,
Cool.
like, he really captures like the spirit of like the children and just every character he draws and stuff. Just
Yeah.
Prime getting down on one knee, and then he stands up. You really can see he's like, I feel bad for Spike's dad. His neck is permanently cranked like that for a while. But like the battle damage, it's so metal. Like,
Yep.
and when he took his arm off and he was swinging around, that's from Mobile Suit Gundam. I
Yeah.
think it was Stardust Memory or the 84th team, and where the guy just rips. He's out of guns, and he just rips the arm off and just uses that as a battering thing. And so he actually used something from a different anime, and I was just like, oh, it's so cool. But I look forward to seeing more of this. And of course, this is we'll see with Ratchet now telling him it's like, that was not what you're meant to use it for. Kind of scolding him a little bit.
Yep.
So then with Jazz here, it's like I said, this is the roller coaster. Every single issue is a freaking roller coaster.
So let's go over that here. So in this scene, we get back to their little base, and we get some discussion or argument about using the Matrix. And of course, Ratchet's point of view is like, it's not about the Matrix, about you. The Matrix channels the spirit of the host, and when you use it, it drains you, and we need you. You could have used it to repair the broken body and help get a fresh arm, but not anymore. And there's nothing left after. And he's making an argument. It's like, what happens if you go? If you go, we go, and then the Decepticons win, and then they're just going to destroy the humans anyway. So what was it all for? And so he makes a good pragmatic argument that I think I would probably be in his position, but I also really admire Optimus's position. Like, I feel like it's the heroic, moral decision. And I love that Daniel Warren Johnson never chooses to tell you, like, or it doesn't even try to like posit which one's the better one. Lets the reader walk away thinking however they want, and I think that's beautiful. We see also that they didn't have enough. They had to like he could only get enough juice to power up one Autobot, and
for a limited time.
we see he explains like I had to like pool it all just to get Jazz so he could come help you, and then Jazz is like, only here for one tune. That sucks. Just I love the dialogue, like how he communicates to the audience what Jazz is thinking of through Jazz's voice, and it's just really cool. And everything just looks down right now. And this is, I just love this type of storytelling, the darkest before the dawn sort of thing. And Daniel Warren Johnson really knows how to pile it on. You're just like, oh man, how are these guys gonna pull it out? And basically Optimus is making the argument about the humans. They are worth saving. Ratchet, everything is. And he makes the argument that they're innocents and we brought this to them and blah blah blah. And so this is kind of a just kind of the moral argument that I was talking about. And then we see Spike's dad show up and he's like, hey, your energy problem, I think I have an idea. So we'll stop there real quick. Well, it's only 2 pages. We'll go a little ahead. We cut back over to Cliff Jumper, and he's looking down at Carly, and she's sad. Her dad's dead. She's been going through all this. She hasn't had time to process. And he's like, "Are you okay? What kind of question is that?" Sorry. And he's just trying to comfort her. And I think this is something that probably a lot of us have gone through, where we see someone like
Language
really
barrier
just
too.
really upset, and you want to say the right words to make, but you don't have the words, and so it's uncomfortable. And this is a really cool way that DWJ kind of plays it, and he tries to relate to her, and he says, the Decepticons destroyed my clan, and he's trying to kind of compare like clan is like your family and stuff. And then of course, as he's telling her this and trying to relate, like he understands her pain, it makes her like kind of realize, like it just opens her up and like to her pain. And 'cause I think she's kind of in shock at this point, and now she's like kind of, it's all sinking in, and she just lets go, and it's real emotional. And he does again. He's like, "Go, Carly!" Like he's just trying to console her and doesn't know how. And then we hear Cliff Jumper, Optimus, and he looks up. How do you feel about going on the offense? And there was one part that I guess I glossed over. I forgot. So Ratchet takes him to the truck or the trailer, and he's like, shows him something, and Optimus says, "No, we can't use that." And you're like, "Whoa,
I
what
want to
could
know
that
what that is.
what could that
What is
be?"
that?
And then you find out it's Megatron's gun. So
Well,
Zach,
no, it's his arm actually. Solitaire arm.
oh yeah, you're right. It's his arm, because I totally glossed over that when I was reading it.
So
Because
so when
I did not put that together.
So when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh! When Megatron finally wakes up, where's my arm?
So yeah, I just you just normally process like people are supposed to have an arm. Like I totally brain wiped that his yeah, you're right. So it's Megatron's arm, and of course his iconic mega gun.
Oh,
Can't believe I did not put that together. That was Megatron's arm.
So
I
what
just
if
thought it was like a really big cannon.
Oh, you didn't even
Megatron's-
catch that it was his gun, because you're not a G1 fan.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not an old school Transformer, so I just like, oh, Optimus just went and got himself a big gun. Cool.
Yeah.
what if
Yeah.
Megatron's personality starts seeping in?
Oh,
dun, dun.
don't. So, anyways, yeah, one of the coolest things as a kid was like Megatron's he's a pistol, and that's the scope. That's the scope of the pistol. But when he transforms, it becomes this like mega cannon thing. And I was, as a kid, it was like, oh, he's got the coolest gun. So this to me was like super nostalgia, just like no way. But Zach, let's start with you. These last scenes, how do they play out for you?
Man, I really love that whole scene between Cliff Jumper and Carly. I thought that was a really great scene. I'm not a huge Cliff Jumper fan. I saw a few episodes of the cartoon. I just thought he was like this really weird looking little mech. He looked like a little mech Ewok. I remember thinking, but this is really cool. That I like this. This is like, I feel like he really is taking Bumblebee's spot as the
Uh-huh.
kind of like the one that connects with the kids and everything. But yeah, I like, the whole little touching sentiment. He's trying to like relate to her with the whole family loss and all that. I thought that was a really touching scene. A lot of beats in this issue were just really, they were kind of in that same vein, that emotional, humanity, trying to understand, or try to relate each other's like pain of whatever was going on. So I really like that. And then when Optimus shows up, not even including the Megatron gun, but when Optimus finally like knows what he wants to do and stops being defensive, and he like wants to go on the offense and be a proactive guy instead of a reactive or defensive guy, like that's when stuff's about to get real. So yeah, I really like that last panel. It sets up for a killer issue number 5.
Nice. Why you, Venkman? Any final words or?
Well, my thing is that I've been back in my mind is like, when is Megatron gonna be a part of this? Is he gonna be part of this? Now we find out his arms taken apart, and there's 2 people doing cannibalism in this.
Yeah, we're
Autobots and
don't jump
Decepticons.
ahead. Don't jump ahead.
What do you mean jump ahead? What do you
Said
mean? We
don't
talked about it
jump ahead.
before.
He was he
There's-
was talking about Skywarp.
Oh,
That's what he was
okay.
talking about.
Never mind.
Skywarp.
Well, there's
Skywarp. With the whole thing with the in Starscream, and that was saying like, well, I know we get extra parts in Skywarp. It's like no, and then so we see that how the Starscream goes about getting cybernetic technology and stuff, and then
They treat each other like my brother and I treated our Legos.
yeah,
Oh, we're missing a piece for this. Let's just steal it from this.
yeah. So and Optimus is complete opposite because he's moralistic. He's got the moral, and he's like, dude. I don't, and not only this, he's like, he's probably like, I don't want to take the arm because not only it belongs to my greatest enemy, but also because it feels wrong stealing somebody's arm,
right.
Yep.
Yep.
So I love that. I love they just coin it. They're to coin it, 2 different sides on
Yeah.
that. But not just
Yeah.
that, the whole Carly thing with Cliff Jumper. I thought it
Yep.
was really cool how they're talking to each other.
Real
And he's like,
emotional.
the family thing.
Yeah.
Him saying, "I lost my family unit." So
Yep. I like Cliff Jumper. Like I feel like we've had so I was like, man, you killed Bumblebee, but then Bumblebee's probably like the most overdone Transformer ever, and it's just like
He is the Deadpool of Transformers.
Can you imagine? can you imagine towards the end of this, Robert Kirkman's like, "Let's do a time jump." Now now Carly and Spike are older, have their own kid.
ugh. Stop it.
Like every Kirkman has to have a time jump in it.
Stop it. All right. So this is not the end of the comic. We cut over and we hear, and we see Skywarp getting dragged, and they're off somewhere in the mountains, and Starscream is just maniacal, victory. And you're like, what's going on? I am the Decepticon leader. Today, tomorrow, forever. And we see frozen in the, I don't know, like a glacier or something, and we see the body of Megatron.
Yeah.
Missing an
But-
arm,
but look-
obviously.
Look, there's a light. But look though, there's a light on.
Yeah, there's a light on. Good notice. I didn't catch that the first time.
I didn't either.
So, yeah, we're
On the
obviously.
one hand,
Go ahead.
no, okay, so on the one hand, obviously, Optimus needs Megatron, kind of like Batman needs Joker. But on the other hand, I'm kind of bummed that we're rushing to use Megatron so quickly. Like, we're only 4 issues in. Megatron hasn't been said to be really a big factor. I feel like we could have used a little bit. We could have gone a full story arc or 2 before bringing in Megatron. But
Oh, he's not brought in. He's
No.
dead. He doesn't even have a head.
Well,
You're seeing his body is all.
That's true. But like V said, there's a light on though.
There is a light
Well,
on.
but
Yeah.
but no, though it could be another 10 issues or another 4
Right.
issues
Could
before they
be.
bring him in.
Could be. You're right. Could
I
be.
feel like this is teasing. I feel like
Yeah.
this is Daniel Warren Johnson's way of saying, don't worry, I didn't forget about Megatron, right? Because if he just didn't show, like readers would be like, where the hell's Megatron? Like, what's going on? At least we get a tease to be like, oh, like there he's destroyed. Like we you kind of know what's there. It'd be kind of like the same thing if he didn't show the death of Bumblebee. We'd be like, where's Bumblebee? Like he's like always around. Um, but at least
Right.
that's my guess.
I can't wait till we see more RC. And then the rest of the
Yo,
group.
bring in our. Did you see where somebody was actually upset that the Autobot girls are drawn like
Women.
Of course they are.
women?
Of
I
course
was
they
like,
are.
bro, go find another fandom to be in. We don't need you here.
Sorry, I don't care what he gets offended by this. Gatekeeping is it's there for a reason.
Not all gatekeeping is bad.
Yes.
Just I don't care about gatekeeping. My thought is you come to something and you enjoy it for what it is. If you don't like what it is, go to something else. Don't
Well, that's the whole
come to
point.
something and go, "Oh, this thing, it doesn't fit what I want, so I want to change it for everyone else so that it works for me." Like if you don't like if you don't like pro baseball, I'm you seeing Breen's name, so like like I don't really enjoy Major League Baseball. So I just kind of leave it aside. I don't go and be like, "Wow, they need to change this and change like just whatever, who cares?" Like it's what it is. The people that love Major League Baseball, they like it. It's their thing. Like I just hate this idea how this entitlement mentality where people come in and comics are a big example of this. Like they come in and go, "Oh, it's not woke enough or it's not this enough or it's not." It's like th- then why are you here? Like I don't complain that Barbie doesn't have enough like guns and commando missions. Like it's a toy for girls to like play house with and do her hair and like that it is what it is. I don't want to come in and change it.
I want
Anyways,
Barbies to be like me, have something between their legs.
yeah, someone posted on Twitter. I thought it was a funny post just for what it was. They said we want to see a Barbie sequel, but it's a Ken movie where Ken gets all the other Kens and they go off and they join GI Joe and have missions and I was like, that's like they put it better than I did, but it was like I was like, that'd be funny for a second, and I was like, but ultimately I don't really want that because I don't want to change Barbie. Like it's funny as a spoof, but anyways, just keep things what they are. If you don't like what it is, then you don't have to. Like not everything needs to be for everyone. I hate that's my number one thing. People go, "It's for everyone." No, it's not. It's not. It's for the people that like this stuff. Sorry. So that's the end. I think it's a good cliffhanger. Well, not really a cliffhanger, but a good like, ooh, like it's intriguing where it's gonna go next. And Starscream obviously, you know, he's gloating. This is the pride before the fall. Like Starscream always has these moments of just like, I won. um. So, any final thoughts that you wanted that you missed or didn't get to say about the book?
Like I said, this has just been a really enjoyable book. It's just one of the comic books, few comics that I get that I don't want to miss an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw somebody post this the other day. I think they were talking. Was it Transformers? It might have been something else. It was something coming from Image Comics, and I forgot exactly word for word what this comment said, but it was like Image is really about to give. I think Image. He said this, and I kind of agree with him. I think Image is gonna knock one of the big two out of their spot, mainly because of books like Transformers, GI Joe, other books that they've got coming in the pipeline. And I think I have to agree. At least personally, I'm at a stage now where I'm actually am getting more Image books than Marvel books. DC is still up there, but Marvel has taken like a really big hit for me. For me, So I mean, and books like this are the reason why. With this, you get quality art, you get quality story, um, you know, just all the right components are there. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be wild with Transformers and all of the Energon verse books taking over the spot that used to be Marvel.
I think that's a good point. Before we get into Spider-Man, I think Image, the smartest thing that Image ever did, I don't even know if I can credit Image for this, but having these like studios within, because when Image first started, it was just sort of like, oh, Todd McFarlane's got his books and Jim Lee's got his books and Eric Larson's got his, and they just, everyone's like, it's like all creator owned stuff. And I remember being a big fan of that, but also kind of like lamenting that I was like, well, it's cool that you guys are doing your own stuff, but I like the shared universe. And, if Spawn is in his own universe and Wildcats is in his universe and Savage Dragon is in his universe, like they're fine books. I'm not against indies, but I kind of would love to see like what Mark Millar's doing, where you're just combine the stuff. But moving, forward all these years, seeing what Robert Kirkman, who I think is like he's like the president of Image. So he manages like the company or leads the company Image, but also has his own studio where he does, and you get these things like the Energon universe. And I would love to see people follow suit. That's why I was a little disappointed when Mark Millar took his stuff over to Dark Horse, which is fine. We're gonna still get his stuff, but I was kind of rooting for like Image to have these like studios within a publisher, because that's where you're going to rival the big two when you can create your own like world. Marvel and DC like have their worlds, and so if you're a fan of say like Marvel, you're more likely to pick up like, oh, they created a new superhero, here's a new book. You're instantly more interested in it because it's part of that Marvel world already. So there's something that like connects you. Whereas an indie book has to sell you a lot harder because it's like, I don't know, it's not attached to anything. It's something totally new. Why should I care? But for example, here, the Energon universe, if Kirkman says, I got a new Energon book, I'm going to guess all three of us are at least interested, right? Because we like Void Rivals, we like Transformers. I'm not sure about the G.I. Joe side yet, but it seems like we're happy with that stuff. So it's like, oh, you got something else that's connected to this? I'm going to entertain it. I'm going to at least, be interested in knowing more. Um, and I think the success of that, where you can get these like studios and get people a fan of like what that studio is doing, is what can promote it growing. Um, and that's what I think needs to happen. But I think Image has the best chance of doing that. What about you guys? Or about RDV, what do you think?
I think Image will do pretty well. I think Dark Horse is giving Mark Millar his own books. I think it'll be great. I think this year is actually gonna be a good year for comic books. I don't think we're gonna be like we were uh going into 2023 or even 2022. I
Well, I
mean,
mean, I agree. I think as fans we're gonna have stuff, but I'm talking about just more as like a success. Do you think, based on what Zach was saying in the beginning, like that he can give Marvel or DC a run for their money as far as like market share? Do you think? Because
well,
they kind of like have this position of like where they're untouchable. Like all the indies are like way below.
I think as far as people, there's a lot more people who don't use social media, so they have no idea what's Mark's going on unless they go to the comic book shop and the comic book shop is talking about this. I think there's because Zeb Wells' Spider-Man is selling, and so is Batman. You're not selling a lot, but they're the most out of both my shops. Those, even the X-Men. So the people who don't like it are no longer at the shop anymore. The people who
Mhm.
are there are the people who grew up with maybe they got in the comic books around 2015, and they're still going. And then there's people who just love the version. I knew a guy, my friend John. He loves the X-Men after Hoxpox. He loves all of it. You know, I don't understand it, but it is. But I mean, as far as for the rest of us, I the fact that I have options, the fact that DC has been putting out some more books, maybe that has to do with the fact that realizing, hey, we actually need to make money, otherwise we're out of jobs here. I don't know how much pressure Zavla is putting on DC, but I mean, eventually you're going to hit a bottom line there. You can only do so much propaganda before you are become a liability for the studio that owns you. Um, and then as far as
branding
Marvel,
is important, right? Like
yeah,
if you
branding.
if you have a product and like like Star Wars, like I always go back to Star Wars, but I think Star Wars is a really good example. From before the 2000s, Star Wars branding was like impeccable. Like it was just considered like the greatest sci-fi fantasy franchise ever. It could do no wrong because it didn't ever
Yep.
have any like failures, right? And then where Disney's at right now is they've turned Star Wars into mediocrity. Once you've revealed like, hey, there actually can be bad Star Wars movies, now it becomes like any other just franchise, like a James Bond, or like, oh yeah, there's been shitty James Bond
Well,
movies, there's been good
and
ones.
honestly,
So
that's
what?
why I've been so happy with the Ghostbusters only being solely owned by Sony, and the fact that they haven't been going down the whole route as
Right.
with the
Well,
Marvel movies.
Ghostbusters hasn't been exploited yet, but we'll hopefully won't go down that
Well,
path. But
I,
what
my,
I'm
my
saying is branding is important, and even maybe a better example than Star Wars would be the MCU. There was a time where I'm sure we all remember, like, you just release an MCU movie, people just autopilot went to go see it because the MCU, even if not every movie was a home run, they were at least entertaining. You at least walked away going, yeah, I got some bang for my buck. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, people were excited. And then after Endgame, they started doing things and making products that people would go and like,
Mhm.
man, I just dropped $50 at the theater and that movie sucked.
well,
And all of
look
a
at
sudden you show the weakness, and now people, they don't look at the MCU like they did, where before it was like, this is the greatest superhero franchise ever. They look at it as, eh,
well,
it's
you look at
lame.
Sony. Sony had Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man,
Yep.
and then by the third one showed a kink in the armor. Like, what the hell is this crap with Venom?
Yep.
And then Amazing Spider-Man came out, and I admit it was really cool. I enjoyed it, but then the second one was the exact same problem as the third one was for Sam Raimi's thing. And it's just like, okay, we just killed Gwen and all this crap. It's just like, and then yeah, so then I think after that, Morbius sucks. Venom not that great because of Spider-Man. It's like, and now Kraven the Hunter, the joke. And what do all those have in common? Those are all Marvel related products. So I wonder if Marvel Studios is or Disney is getting involved with this and
Oh,
saying,
they don't
"Hey,
have
you have to
much.
adhere to our things."
They don't have much. They don't have much say. Sony can do
Well,
whatever they want.
I wonder though. I wonder though. I mean, they want to appease them. Obviously, they want to appease the people who own their characters, really. Um, but Ghostbusters is solely owned by Sony, and I'm curious to see how long before that starts getting the Star Wars treatment. You know,
Yeah, we'll
like I
see.
said,
The thing is once you destroy the brand, once you create, if you're a big fan of something and you're like, oh, I just love it, everything about it's so amazing, but then you like tarnish it, once that sets in, it's really difficult to get back, right? Like
mhm.
I think Lord of the Rings kind of suffered this. When the original trilogy came out, it was like untouchable. Like Peter Jackson can do no wrong. Oh my goodness, like this is the greatest fantasy, like unbelievable.
Nobody
And
gets
then
walking like Peter Jackson.
then The Hobbit came out and we were like, okay, like it's not terrible, but it's not Lord of the Rings. It was kind of like his prequels. Like he did the same thing as George
I
Lucas.
enjoyed the Hobbit, the first
Yeah.
one.
I mean,
Yeah,
just like the prequel trilogy for Star Wars. Like, man, they're
I
not
enjoy those.
terrible. They're enjoyable. Like, but it's not the masterpiece that Lord of the Rings was. And then the Amazon show, and you're like, oh, this is utter garbage. And now there's a new Lord of the Rings movie coming out, and no one even like it's coming out this year, and no one even
And no one cares.
cares. No one, you know what I'm saying? Because the
Well,
branding has been destroyed.
so I'll counter with that with saying Dune Part 2. No one's talking about it.
Well, it's
It,
it's not in the zeitgeist right now. Like they're
it,
not
it, it,
even.
it, it- I like all I remember is when Dune came out. Oh, it's such a phenomenal movie, you know. And then it's like Part 2 is coming out. It's like not a peep from anybody really. It's
Well,
just weird.
the thing about Dune, I look at Dune as kind of similar to Avatar. It's one of those things that like people really enjoyed, but there's not like a fandom outside of it. Like some movies just succeed because it's a movie that
Yeah,
people
but
like.
Avatar got more. Avatar was talked more about, you know.
Well, yes, but
And then
not Avatar is the number 1 and the number 3 movie of all time. But there's nothing outside of it. There's not like an Avatar TV show. There's not Avatar toy line. I mean, there is, but not like.
I don't believe that Highlander won the award for the best movie ever made.
Huh? We're talking about. I'm just talking about box office success.
I know. I'm quoting Ricky
And
Bobby.
so it's just one of those things that certain things like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, like they enter the zeitgeist and there becomes like this fandom even beyond the movie. And then I think Dune is just one of those things like Top Gun, like Top Gun Maverick. People loved the
Yeah.
movie. It did really well, but it just it in their minds it just exists as a movie. And when there's another one,
Yeah.
they'll probably go see it, but they're not going to be like they're not going to go to like Top Gun conventions, you know? Like there's certain things that live outside. Like Lord of the Rings has a fandom outside. There's like
Ghostbusters, like I said, has a chance. I'm hopeful for them. But, Zach said he watched Afterlife tonight, and he said he enjoyed it. So I mean, I'm hoping that it just stays in that route because I'm biased. Obviously, I love
Mhm.
Ghostbusters. I'm
Right.
biased.
Yeah, you're biased.
You know, but like when someone who basically is not a huge fan like I am enjoys the movie, then it gives me hope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I understand completely.
yeah.
Dune 2 is my number 2 most anticipated like of any movies that are coming out in the near future that I'm aware of. Dune 2 is my number 2 of all things. Like and it's
What about the
weird to
Kevin
me.
Costner movie?
It's weird to me that it's not Star Wars. There was a time where I would say nothing can top Star Wars. Like if whatever there's a Star Wars movie going to come out, I'm more excited.
What's weird to me is that Dune's not the popularity for Dune is not like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars.
It's harder to digest.
When that first one came out, I remember it was just talked about. Everybody was so happy, like, "Oh my gosh, Dune is the best thing ever!" And now it's just like part 2 is like they kind of forgot it's coming out because the strike.
It's one, yeah, the
That was-
strike, but it's also one movie. I mean, the first Avatar did better than any movie in history, and it wasn't even close. Like it 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 didn't just beat Titanic, which no movie had ever come close to Titanic. It didn't just beat Titanic, it almost tripled Titanic. Or not tripled, sorry, doubled Titanic. It was unbelievable how successful Avatar was. But then afterwards, it just sort of was like, yeah, people liked it, but there's no way to really enjoy Avatar outside of the movie. So you kind of just move on. I guess you can go to the Disney park, or if you live in Florida, you can go on the Avatar ride. But you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas like Lord of the Ring fans, you got the books, you've got video games, you've got role playing games, you've got like there's so many ways like and they all come together like the Lord of the Ring, and there's fandoms on the internet. Avatar's like, yeah, I really like that movie. Cool. That's it. That's all there is. Like,
Yeah, well,
it's like
speaking of things like Dune, I've forgotten this book.
yes,
You reviewing it or not?
Yes, we are. Sorry. All right. This is Ultimate Spider-Man #1.
It's Hickman. I want to hear Zach gush all over it. It's Hickman.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll gush.
Hickman is like to Zach what James Cameron is
Hickeys
to
for
me.
Hickmans. Are you
This
guys
is
Hickeys?
Zach's bias.
Hickman is my Chris Nolan of comic books.
Oh, like, are you a Hickey then? Like a Taylor Swift or Swifties? Are you a Hickey?
So,
Steven's keeping that one in your holster.
I just thought of it now, actually.
So because this is a longer book and because I don't want to go all night, what I'm gonna do
All
is
night
I'm
long.
all night long. Okay, no. Um,
All night.
I'm going to just go through the whole book real quick, just give us a summary, and then we'll come back and you guys talk about whatever you want. The book opens up. We see January. We see a middle-aged Peter Parker looking in the mirror. We see him getting dressed. He's got the TV on, and puts on his wedding ring, which immediately we're like,
Weather
oh,
forecast.
he's got a wedding ring, and we comes out. Oh, look, he's got kids. Dad pours himself a
Coffee
pot
and
of
bacon.
coffee, and guess what? He's got a wife. Who's the wife? It's Mary Jane, and she's not a hideous beast either. And it's a very wholesome, like, two kids and a wife family. Like, this is like the total nuclear family, which is shocking to come from Marvel. We see the daughter May. She's got this weird globe thing that she's holding, which is kind of innocuous, that Peter snatches from her hand. This is foreshadowing. Something's on Peter's mind. Mary Jane kind of sniffs out and says, you need to talk. He's like, yeah, but later. He's got to go to the office. What kind of office? Well, Peter Parker in this universe is a reporter. He works at the Daily Bugle, of course. And we have a scene. We see J. Jonah Jameson, who's recognizable in any universe. Parker. And we see him come across Peter, and then we see a weird change of pace. Oh, hey there, Peter. Morning, boss. No time for chit chat. Parker. Wait, what? Ben Parker. Ben is alive, and he's the managing editor of the Daily Bugle. And not just that, but he and J. Jonah Jameson are best friends. And so they have this relationship. Something's going on. Peter, he's got some sort of meeting with something, but they have an important meeting at the paper that they got to do, and it's like, can you make it on time? Blah blah. All this, we don't know what's going on. But Ben's got to go. Peter's got to go with him. He doesn't have a tie. Doesn't even own a tie. And this is a different J. Jonah Jameson. This is a much more calm, kind of thoughtful, like considerate J. Jonah Jameson that I can only maybe attribute to because he's got the friendship of Ben that's like molded him into a softer human being.
It's because he has. You know why? Because there's no Spider-Man to ruin his day.
Perhaps, but also I think Ben probably has an influence on him. Is my take. But
so Ben's a better influence than Robbie is. Wow.
Yeah. And so we see in the storytelling here that J. Jonah Jameson takes his tie off and gives it to Peter, so he can go to wherever they're going, which we don't know yet. And so we cut out to outer scenes in New York. It's snowing. It's winter. Peter thinks, there's something on his mind, and he's kind of worried about Ben. He can't quite put his finger on something's troubling him. Ben just tells him, like, instead of beating around the bush, get out with it. We get a little bit of, it was kind of nice here, like nostalgic of like Ben being the father figure, the prime influence of Peter's life, and giving him some kind of fatherly advice. They show up to a crowd, and we instantly recognize that this is some sort of memorial. We see May Parker on the list. We see Norman Osborn. So some names we recognize. We see a face we recognize. It's Matt Murdock, and he's giving this memorial. In this universe, apparently Matt Murdock is a priest. He's Father Murdock. And we see now that Mary Jane and the kids have shown up, and there's this memorial going on. At first, I thought, like...
Wait.
What?
Emily Osmond's on there too. Harry's parents. Emily and Norman.
Right. Yes, and Himley's on there too. So at first I thought that this is whatever this memorial is happened 20 years ago, and my brain was like, oh, what happened 20 years ago? Like close enough. 9/11. Like, is this a case where like Peter's parents died in 9/11? That's what I was thinking, but it turns out it was something else. We see Father Murdoch gives the final speech thing to Harry Osborn, who is surviving. In this universe, Harry and Peter are not friends. They never really got to meet and know each other. And we get this long speech about basically kind of like what happened. You get hinted at that uh, Stark, Howard Stark, I guess, was it Howard or Tony?
It was Howard.
Howard Stark.
Howard was Iron. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this is the one. Yeah, well, I'll talk about it later. But Howard Stark, when if they say Iron Man, they're referring to Howard.
Right.
Tony
So
is not
20
Iron
years
Man.
ago, Howard Stark did something that killed a lot of people, and that's what this memorial is. So it's like, oh, and you can see here at the end that Harry is kind of like, he's like, it's just not enough. I'm not sure any of us should be expected to live with it. So he gives this memorial speech, but at the end there's like that tint of like the super villain kind of hinting at like, I'm not, which I kind of liked.
And his hair game's on point.
Yeah, he doesn't have the normal in this universe. He doesn't have the
He doesn't have
cornrows,
the perm.
the perm or whatever that is. And so then we cut after people are walking away after the service, and Ben is, talking to Harry. I guess I don't know if Ben had interviewed the father. There's a lot going on in Hickman books. There's like he tends to write in a very technical, detailed way. Go ahead.
It's kind of like a world building for this first issue kind of sense. You get to get the personality of each characters, and until where he wants to get you, and then I feel like that's what Hickman does. He gets you, he fills you in a little bit, and he respects you, he knows you, like I said, and I like it. It's gonna be cool when he gets to the second issue.
So you're right on point. Everything in this issue is to set things up, and Hickman is basically laying out scenes to help you as a reader understand the relationships and the characters, kind of give you an insight into a little bit of their personality, and just really kind of bring you up to speed, because this whole entire book is essentially a what if book. If you come and read this book, you're going to want to read this like it's a what if. Everything is different here. Which I'll give my thoughts at the end, but we cut back to the Daily Bugle. Ben and Peter show up, and we see J. Jonah Jameson's upset. He's tossing papers, and he walks out, "I quit." You're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And we see Ben. He's like, "Peter, go to your desk. Keep your head down. We'll catch up later." He walks in. Did I miss something? And he's talking to the board or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, you did, Ben." And they do all the corporate spiel, blah blah blah. The paper's not doing what it should, and this whole Iron Man thing, like, wasn't being investigated enough, and want to go in a different direction, blah 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 blah, a lot of different stuff. And to which at the end Ben says, like, "And how do you think I should feel about that?" And then we cut over, and there's Kingpin, and he's like, "You should feel pleased, after all, nature abhors a vacuum." So basically, it's kind of Kingpin like, "You're gonna be in charge now. Like, you should be happy." And Ben is like, "What's that supposed to mean, Mr. Fisk?" And Jameson's out, blah blah blah. Now you're the top dog, and that's how Fisk works, right? His whole thing is, from his perspective, that should make anyone happy, climbing the ranks of power. But Ben's a different kind of person. Like, he doesn't care about that. And so Ben just smiles, walks out, steps in the elevator with J. Jonah Jameson, who kind of smiles at him. And Ben just says, "So what are we going to do now?" And that gives you an insight into Ben, of course. He stands by his friends. He's not in it for the money and the power. And, of course, that's the Ben we know as Spider-Man fans. That's the guy who instilled the morality into Peter great power comes great responsibility, sort of thing. And so we go later. God, I love the Chichetto like scene, like the scenery shots, like establishment shots is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We see Wilson Fisk. He's getting out of his car, and then boom, it blows up. Like, whoa, what's going on? Green Goblin shows up. And it's like, okay. And I think most of us can guess who this is. However,
It's been-
I'm waiting for the red herring.
right,
waiting
I'm
for the
like
one.
thinking red herring.
It's Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, right. So
Or Ja-
I don't know who the one-eyed guy is. Do you guys know who that is?
No idea. My
Okay.
first guess is maybe it's like an ultimate version of Adrian Toomes of Vulture.
It's
But,
it's Von Strucker.
Well, I mean, he's with Fisk. He seems to be like a right-hand man to Fisk. So
Yeah.
If it's Silvermane, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
Man, maybe could be.
So it's just Green Goblin shows up, but that's all we get. We cut over to a bar. We see Ben and JJJ. They're discussing like what to do, and they're gonna start up a new venture together. And basically, Ben's just like, all I want, is we gotta tell the truth. And then JJJ gives some pushback. He's like, the truth. He starts laughing. The truth. He's like, we're in the news business, and he kind of explains. And finally, Ben is like, well, how about this? We just don't lie. To which they agree. Peter shows up, explains kind of like what happened at work, how he's got a family. He's like, and he's kind of surprised, like, Ben, how do you do this? Like, how do you just pick up? Like, it's been like a couple hours, and you're already changing your life. JJ offers him a job. Peter's like, do you have any money? So the idea is like these two guys can just pick up. Ben explains, Aunt May is dead. So now we as the audience know. He's like, I'm a single guy. I can just go. I got to do what I got to do, and I got to stand by what's right. But he understands that Peter's got a family, and he's like, look, I'm not asking you to join us. I if you want to, that's great. But, I don't, it's okay if you don't. And he can see, though, that something's troubling Peter. And so he's like, what's wrong? And then Peter kind of confides into him that there's something. He's like, man, I can't put my finger on it. There's something that I feel like I'm missing in my life. Something's wrong with me. I can't explain it. And so this is like a peek for the audience at this point when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is like the world is not how it was supposed to be. Like, this is what it's hinting at. Like, obviously, like he's supposed to be, something different. Like, so Ben recognizes it, and he's like, inaction. What does he say? Inaction is action. And he's like, you got to make things happen. You can't just sit around. He's like, I love you, son, but if you're walking around half asleep, anesthetized by your own life, then wake up. And to me, this was a very Matrix moment. I thought like a Morpheus type of like, wake up, Neo. And we see Parker shows up, and these kids reading. This was a little weird to me. I don't know why the kid is reading Tale of Two Cities. Like, I was like, this is so out of touch. I don't know what kid would be in their bedroom reading Tale of Two Cities.
Well, I like what Peter says. You're just like me. You're a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading, not Tale. What's the other Charles Dickens one? Oh, maybe it wasn't Dickens. It was the Scarlet Pimpernel, but it was like one of those old, novels. I used to read those when I was a kid. Thank you, Wishbone.
His dad's, like I said, his dad's exceptionally probably smart and nerdy and stuff there, and his mom probably. We don't know if she was still tried to be an actress in this. We don't know what her job is. So maybe he has theater background. Maybe he's taking theater at school.
All right,
Oh.
fair enough. It just seemed really like only in comic books this would be like anyways.
Well, yeah.
Neither here nor there.
Look, honestly, the Parkers could be a homeschool family because that actually does seem like a very homeschool thing. Oh, your kid reads novels.
Well, I understand what Ash is saying. He'd be reading it on a tablet.
I just feel like very few kids in 2024 are reading at all. Not even comics. Most kids are on a YouTube playing Fortnite. It's just a different world. I have a easier time believing in Zach's day, 20 years ago,
Yeah,
25 years
Zach,
ago.
where's your boy?
Yeah,
The youngest one here.
I know, we're
no,
so young.
I'm just saying, like, even then, 20 years ago, the world's really changed in the past 20 years. That's all
I
I'm
have
saying.
one niece that reads more now that she got close to they're like 18. She enjoys reading now. Where
Yeah.
before she kind of like, it's there.
Well, girls naturally are more inclined to read books than boys. It's
Then
very much more rare.
Then my other niece, the tomboy, she's like, ugh, reading. Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, I'm not saying all girls do. I'm just saying it's a way
I
more.
know. But I'm just seeing with my nieces, you see the different personalities. It's like, man, y'all are just picky. It's quit complaining and do something.
Right. I mean, one of the reasons comic books exists is because of boys are not. They don't have that reading. But boys are more visual. We're biologically wired to. And I've heard people break it down about how the male of the species, like we're designed to see things visually because we're the hunter gatherer.
I learned by example.
And so that's why comic books were a big deal for like getting boys to read, because the pictures, like even before some kids could read, they would get comics just to look at the pictures, where girls would have a more proclivity to read like novels and stuff, because they don't necessarily need the visuals.
And it's my sister. She's like, I don't need pictures. I like to read the novels. It's because she thinks comic books are for kids.
Yeah, it's hard. I remember my ex like trying to get her into comic books, and she tried, but she was like, I just want to read like books. Like she didn't have the same visual appeal.
I just laughed because my sister's like, she's 11 years older than I am. She's like, well, comic books are for kids. I'm like, what are you reading, Percy Jackson?
Yeah.
Tell me which is for kids, which isn't for kids.
This is a stigma.
I know.
So, basically, earlier Peter had said that he did want to talk, and it'd have to be wait till later, and so this is now the time they finally comes home and they have their talk, and Mary Jane, is very attentive. It's very much like the perfect relationship, which was kind of like wholesome feeling. Like I was reading this, I was like, man, I haven't Marvel Comics, like wow. And she's very attentive and wanting to know what's going on, and Peter kind of spills the beans, like he needs to change. He's like, no, MJ, I need to change. And the way this kind of plays out, but I feel like it was an intended red herring that I didn't fall for. Was
it's like Suspiria, yeah.
I felt like this was meant to be like, oh, Peter wants to like distance himself. Like this is like the way it played out was very like, I need some space type of thing, but that's not what it is. It just come and so Mary Jane's like, oh, like you need to change what, and she says,
go ahead.
And she says, oh, that, what do you mean? So I know you, Peter. You've been an amazing husband, lights out father, blah blah. But there's something more. And it's like, do you know what you have to do? He says, I think so, yes. Are things going to change between us? Never. And then she's like, well then, that settles it. I'm going to bed. And you? Go get him, Tiger. And nice hearkening back to the classic Mary Jane relationship, that she was always the super supportive. And I don't fault Hickman for writing it this way, because that's just normal human drama. It was really weird because I was just like, wait, what's going on with Peter? Like, why he's like the way he's talking. I felt like it was just meant to make readers think so that he could do the bait and switch. I just didn't buy it because of the way he had been writing it.
See, I got different. I was more like an FU to the other, ones that don't want him to be married. Because normally that's what it'd go. It'd be like, we need some space and we're gonna break up,
Sure.
And
well, that's part of the reason I didn't buy it, but I felt like he was at least trying to set that red herring so you'd think that for a second so that he could bait and switch you and be like, nope, see, look, it's all good.
Yeah, because that's what we used to. If you came into comic books after One More Day and you read Spider-Man, you're used to this.
Right.
That's our one-trick pony. Yeah.
So we get reassured that that's not the case. We get to see Mary Jane being the supportive, and when we see Peter grabs this mysterious globe that we saw earlier, and he goes up to the roof, and he's holding this, and then we cut last night. So we go back in time, and about 24 hours, and with this glow, and it's like, this, Parker, Peter Parker, this is for Parker. What? And he's like, what the hell? And there's this weird, mysterious box. And then all of a sudden, well, it's Iron Man. And Iron Man's giving a message. And he's like, hello. If this has gone as as hoped, I am speaking with Peter Parker. My name's Tony Stark. And he gives him this whole message. He's like, I'm sending this to you from 6 months in the future. And he's like, what? What's going on? And he's like, basically all these things went wrong. There was an attempt on my life. I'm sorry that I can't be more specific, but I have to be careful. And he kind of spills the beans of what I had been suspecting from the beginning of the book, that, the world has gone wrong. Like, it's not how it was. All I can ask is, please listen carefully. And he's like, this is for you. Inside is a pictogram, a Pictotech stealth suit, for your mask your identity, and a bioorganic catalyst, blah blah blah, your post-human transformation, all very Hickman-y techno speak, which is cool. And then Peter's like, what is that supposed to mean? And then he's like, 20 years ago, you were supposed to be bitten by a radioactive spider. This would have given you amazing powers, and with them, you would have become the Earth's most prominent superhero, or one of them. Instead, a great evil traveled through time and erased almost all the heroes of this world from this world's existence, and you were one of them. And he goes on to just basically say, yeah, this world is not how it was, and Tony's trying to fix it.
You're my only hope.
He's trying to fix it. And he finally says, instead, all that was taken from you. And we cut back to the present. Now.
No, symbiote.
Those people stole your future. These people robbed you of your destiny. The question is, do you want it back? And all of a sudden the ball thing fades away, and there's this black sphere. I don't know what the hell's that, but he pulls out this test tube, and there's a spider, and he's like, I want it. And then he remembers Ben saying, then wake up. And he pops open the tube, and then he visions Mary Jane, go get him, Tiger. And he lets the spider bite him. And then we cut over and we see Spider-Man. So it was a very kind of accelerated, like, get you up to speed of how things are. And that's all that there is in the book. And like RDV said, hold on, I'll give you the floor in a moment. Like RDV said, it's very much an establishing, like, world building, just like you're coming in cold. There's a lot of things different. So before we can proceed, I need to give everyone like a ground, like a baseline, so and that's this whole first book is that. RDV, go ahead. What do you want to say?
I would have added it right there when he gets bit. He's like, son of a bitch, it hurts. Like, when I had a little humor to it. Because it's like perfect. It's a missed opportunity, but it is just a fun book. Can we get rid of the beard though? Just lose the beard.
I suspect that'll probably happen, because I can't imagine you can wear a face-type mask like that.
So right now he just. So it looks like he just has the black costume, or a generic black costume, which I think he'll alter. I think he'll.
Good observation. Let's go back this a second. What do you think that ball is?
It's his costume.
Right, but where did Peter Parker get the black suit?
From a symbiote.
Right, but before it was a symbiote, before we knew it was a symbiote, he was on the Secret Wars battle world.
Yes.
And he come across this black ball, and he touched it, and then the suit went on to him. So, where did Iron Man get this?
Beyonder.
Like, what I'm thinking is, this might actually be a symbiote.
I think it might actually might not be symbiote, or it might be. There was a fake synthetic ones too. There's also like there's symbiotes, and then there was one that I remember
Correct.
Iron Man created one. So
I
so
and I thought was it Iron Man or the Maker?
well, the Maker was actually was infected by a symbiote, or he might have made his own.
So
I think he made his own based off.
the ultimate universe Venom is not a alien symbiote the way it is in the 616. It's a
Oh
manufactured
yeah. See,
thing.
I'm not even going after the Ultimate stuff. I'm completely ignoring all that Ultimate Universe.
Well, because the old Ultimate Universe is not this Ultimate Universe.
It's gone.
This is the old Ultimate Universe. Bring back to Hickman. Hickman destroyed the original Ultimate Universe when he did
Correct.
Secret Wars back in 2015.
Correct.
This is a new universe that the Maker, who survived the old one,
Mhm.
he escaped to. He prevented Peter Parker from getting bit by the spider. He prevented a lot of
Right.
from getting their origins. And so this is the new Ultimate Universe.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that very well could be that character we saw in the beginning of the Walking. That could be Adrian Toomes, the Vulture.
Could be Adrian Toomes.
I mean, we saw that Green Goblin's got a different costume, like an Iron Man kind of version suit.
Correct. And this may not be at all that. I just find it eerily familiar. And we've known in the past that the ultimate, and I know it's a different Ultimate Universe, but that doesn't mean that, I mean, it still could be that whatever Venom is in this universe still could be an artificial creation. That's all I'm saying.
It may not be Venom.
There are several clever little callbacks and winks and nods in the issue. Like when you see at the beginning of the issue, Parker is holding on to the orb that has all the spider stuff in it, the Spider-Man origin kit, as I like to call it. I mean, I can't help but think that's a little wink and nod to when May became Spider-Girl in that What If issue all those years ago. Like I think there are several instances of these cleverly placed like winks and nods to Spider-Man history.
Yeah, so this is 20 years after when the Maker arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to give you somewhat established. Like I said, there might be similarities to Ultimate Spider-Man, but I think there's gonna be a lot of new stuff, like I said, which I'm okay with.
Wasn't 20 years ago the Ultimate Universe?
What are we in? We're in 23. Was Ultimate Universe in 2003? It might have been.
We're in 2024.
Might have been. Yeah.
Oh, we are in 2024. Oh, I'm still thinking 2023. Maybe. Give me a second. I can look that up and say.
I thought it ended in 2006 or 11.
Because here's the thing.
No, it ended in 2015 when Jonathan Hickman did Secret Wars. Ultimate Spider-Man started in 2000.
So the Maker, like this is a different Ultimate Universe, but I'm presuming that the Maker is the same Maker. Like he's
it is. Yeah, yes.
So that's why I am suspecting callbacks and certain things, and one of the things that the Maker had that he brought from his Ultimate Universe was a symbiote. We saw that in the 616.
Well, yeah, he had one attached to him actually during the whole Venom series.
So I'm just wondering if it's possible, or if Stark in this Ultimate Universe, Stark managed to make it. I don't know. How does even Stark know that 20 years ago things changed? Like, how does he know how that Peter was supposed to be bitten by a radioactive spider?
Did you read Ultimate Invasion?
He had,
no.
So some of this is enough if somebody's just coming in cold to just Ultimate Spider-Man. I feel like it's enough to set them up to know what's going on. But if you read Ultimate Invasion or there was Ultimate Universe, it was like a one-shot thing that Hickman did. I think Brian Hitch was the artist. Yeah, there was like a one-shot that really explained more what happened to Tony, Thor, Captain America, the Ultimate version.
Because originally Howard was Iron Man there, and he was helping the Maker along with Dr. Doom, Reed Richards.
Yeah, Reed Richards. There's another Reed Richards who was a Dr. Doom. Yeah.
And then
they had him in the Doom armor.
And like I said, Howard Stark risked his life in order to save his son Tony. Tony became Iron Man out of respect for his father.
And then he found all of these files or all this information from the maker. I want to say it was from the maker. He found all this information on the heroes that he had sabotaged or stopped from becoming
Yeah.
heroes. So that's how he knows Peter Parker is supposed to be Spider-Man, and that
Yeah.
other heroes are meant to be other heroes.
So
Gotcha.
I'm just glad we don't have Peter Parker in a bathrobe the whole entire issue.
It's a very Hickman-esque. I can see. I mean, Marvel did do. I mean, they picked the best guy for this type of story because it is very Hickman, technical sci-fi. Like that's Hickman's bread and
Yes.
butter.
Do you know what this reads like? Future Foundation.
Yeah. I mean, they're both Hickman. There is some
I know,
similar,
but I'm saying it
The-
really is very serious.
similar
world building.
qualities. Yeah, I can see. It's different, but I can see the qualities that are what you're talking about. But
And
who
also,
wants to go first?
also
Let's talk about.
I want to quickly point out. You can go back a page. His son was reading a book at the table. You complain about reading, yeah.
No, I'm not complaining about him reading.
No, yeah.
I just
Making-
thought it
yeah.
was really weird that not only was he reading, but he was reading A Tale of Two Cities. Like it just,
Yeah.
it just felt really like, Hickman, have you talked to little kids lately? Like, are you in the same? I get it's a different universe, so
like this kid's dumb.
no, it's not about
Well,
being
that's Rhaegar
dumb.
saying. He's like, what did Rhaegar saying? He's like, I want my American kids in the comics be illiterate. Damn it! What is this, Ash?
Ay. It's not that. It's. Anyways,
Like I said, Peter Parker was obsessed with science, so maybe his son is a literature person.
Peter works at a newspaper.
Yeah,
He's a
Uh-huh.
reporter. He writes. Maybe some of that writing gets, his son takes an interest in it.
All right.
Doesn't happen with everybody. I didn't get an interest in Medicare because that's what my
but-
dad did. But
So in this universe, his
Peter's job is cooler.
his son becomes Carnage.
It just.
Just kidding.
I don't know. Like I don't. To me, if I can relate to it, feel like this. It just felt a little too idyllic. Like, oh, not only is it a perfect nuclear family, but the kid reads classic literature. Like, it just was like, it didn't feel in touch, as all. I'm not trying to like lambaste the book. It just,
Well,
I would have maybe tweaked it a little bit, like I said, like he's reading a comic book, like or something. You know,
he might. Like I said, Zach said he might be homeschooled. He's not allowed to do anything. They're in this high rise. Look at they're in a fancy
maybe
place.
maybe Peter is an oppressive dad and doesn't let his kids have fun.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe.
But look where they're living. That's a fancy looking kitchen there. And where they are. They're living in New York.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It's like the TV right there by the kitchen table.
Well, I
everything,
mean,
the book.
he does work at one of the premier papers, so he probably gets
Yeah,
paid.
And
Oh.
we don't know for sure, but I mean, looking at how Mary Jane looks, I'd say she's got to still be a model or an actress.
Probably.
Or something.
Yeah.
Shane O'Karen doing porn.
But anyways, what do you guys? Go ahead and let's talk about the book. I gave the synopsis.
I would just say art alone, Chichetto, the snow falling and everything. The snow is not drowning the characters out when they show the memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just love it. I love the gutters. I love look at this. Look at the snow.
Yeah.
And then not only that, you're following them as they walk. We talk about Transformers, how they were showing the movement. I love this. It's basically like a movie scene. You see them walking from further, and then they get closer, and then we focus on one, and then we get a group shot, and then we look back over at Peter. It's really like a movie in a sense. And the snow is just awesome. And then that bottom panel right there, it's there's some it's New York. You see some steam. It's cold out. It's just, and then you notice how the snow gets darker at the very bottom there, that last page with Harry just giving a speech. When he says it's just not enough, how the snow gets dark. It
you
just
mean
gets
like the
dark behind
background? Yeah.
the background. Oh, I just love it. It's all bright and cheerful. He's being, and then it's like, crap.
Yeah.
And the thing about this is that whoever's in the goblin costume, I mean, of course, Leah Comics Geeks is guessing, he's saying it's Harry, but we don't know that for sure. And
he's got a looks like an Iron Man armor, kind of similar to armor on. Does he have the serum in him, like the Green Goblin serum, or is he just got a guy in a suit? Whoever's underneath there, like, and just like I said, I'm just setting up everything, and that kind of looks like Ned Leeds there a little bit there on top left. But that's another thing. Apparently, Betty Brant's in this, so I haven't seen her yet, Miss Brant, what she's supposed to look like, you know.
Yeah,
But
her face was in like one panel. It was like
yeah,
real quick.
but I love this Jameson. This is a Jameson. He's more heart. This is the Jameson who spent the past 60 years hating on Spider-Man.
Nope.
So like I said, he's got this friendship with Uncle Ben there, and throughout this whole issue, Uncle Ben is basically everybody's been worrying about him. Like even Jordan says, like, dude, is your uncle all right? You know, he hasn't really grieved, you know, it's like stuff. And Ben even calls out, like, Brad Ben knows is smart. He notices it. He says to Peter, he's like, dude, I'm fine. It's like I'm never gonna get over missing her. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just something. Yes, and that's true with a lot of people. But then you bring in the big bad Kingpin. I was just like, of course Kingpin would come in. Who, if there's no Spider-Man, there's no one to stop, no Daredevil, who would, Kingpin's just gonna take over everything. Because that's what he does. He's a crime lord. You control the media, you control the narrative.
Yeah, no, he really does
I love it.
Kingpin in a way that it's satisfactory, like a very satisfying way. Melania
Like
says, my
Luthor.
guess is that these kids are not the normal stupid ones these days. They don't even know what state they live in. And her plot twist is, given how much people like to bash Tony Stark or the Green Goblin, is Tony Stark in that armor. That's her cynical take.
But did you notice so far the Kingpin? He kind of seems like a Lex Luthor from post crisis days.
Well, Kingpin always was kind of a Lex Luthor, just more of a thug.
But I love it though.
Yeah,
I love how did this
Kingpin. From my take, Kingpin was always written in a similar vein as Lex Luthor, but just without the super intelligence. He was just more, if Lex Luthor was a mafia boss instead of a genius tech guy. But going just real quick to the kids are not normal stupid ones. To me, it's not something about the stupid thing. I can buy like the smart. It's just, kids like to do what other kids do, and so they get influenced, and typically that's why they do what they do. It's because all their friends at school do this. Kids aren't usually apt to go out and like just discover things on their own. They actually usually are very resistant into trying. They just do. So if the idea that kids are like sitting at reading a classic literature, to me would be like, what, are your friends reading this? Because like Harry Potter became real successful. They're good books, but the reason why all the kids, because all their friends were reading Harry Potter, and so they wanted to be part of the thing, so it spread like wildfire. That's all I was saying.
Maybe Tale of Two Cities will come into the next issue.
It's just weird to me. But as far as the cynical take on the Green Goblin, I could see a plot twist just to be a plot twist, but I will say one thing, Maranya, about Hickman, is he really does respect the lore and the traditions and these characters. For good or ill with his storytelling, I did not like what he did with X-Men, but I've never felt like he bastardized characters. I always felt like he respected the material and that these characters have fans, and he never gave me the inclination like that. He, like some of these writers, you just feel like they don't like they want to just change things, and they're more like Hickman, I think, is a fan of these characters, and he might do radical changes with them, but not out of a way of like, oh, screw how that character was, but to serve a story purpose, like out of respect. So I will expect that Hickman's Iron Man may not be the Iron Man, but I believe it will be respectful to what Iron Man is, and he will be some sort of hero. He won't be a cynical like.
He may not be the one you want, but the one you didn't know you needed.
Yeah. So Zach, you've been kind of quiet. Let's give you a chance to jump in here.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna let Venkman just like get all of his words out so that I can get out a few sentences without an interruption. Yeah, no, I really like this first issue.
What? Me interrupt?
Here it
Go ahead.
is.
Go ahead.
I couldn't even get one done. No, I mean it is very different. I mean, but I found the as different as it is from what we would consider normal Spider-Man. As different as it was, it also felt like a lot of it was very familiar. You know, yes, it's Uncle Ben who's alive here, not Aunt May. You know, some stuff is reversed. Jameson's not grouchy; he's rather pleasant to be around. But then, I mean, you Hickman, and I know this from just reading a bunch of Hickman's other works he did at Marvel. Uh, his Secret Warriors, his Fantastic Four, his Avengers. The slow burn kind of setup that he does, he's laying the groundwork, he's putting the pieces, he's setting up supporting cast members. Uh, and all of this it's all like key ingredients I feel for Spider-Man, for other heroes, but especially I feel like for Spider-Man. Um, the thing that really stood out to me though, besides the art, because the art is gorgeous. Props to Chichetto. But the thing that I really liked the most though was this. You know, several times throughout the book, Peter just there's reference to Peter feeling like he's not. It felt like to me he was saying he wasn't living up to his full his full potential, or that there was an empty spot, an empty part of his life, and he's got for a guy like me, Peter Parker's kind of got the dream set up. He's got the beautiful wife, he's got the family, he's got a cool job, but he just several times in this book when you hear him talk to like his Uncle Ben, or he's talking to MJ, you get this sense that like something's missing, something's not, he's got like this sense of emptiness at somewhere in his life, and because he's not Spider-Man. And so that part kind of that was probably the theme of the book that really resonated with me, like stuck with me the most. It had almost like a I don't know if Hickman intended for this or not, but it did have almost like a spiritual or like a religious undertone to it, kind of. Um, Maybe that's just me. But yeah, no, I really like this first issue a lot. I'm definitely going to be sticking on this. I'm kind of excited for like this whole new Ultimate thing. Uh, as a whole, I feel like Hickman coming in and writing it, because Hickman does do a lot of. I feel like he does really good. He incorporates themes really well into his stories. Like when we read through his Fantastic Four run last year, yeah, it's Fantastic Four and it's sci-fi and there's aliens and all kinds of cool stuff, but I mean the heart of it was very much a family centered story. It was about Reed and his dad and Franklin and Reed's relationship. It was like this whole father son thing that kind of went through it. So I'm very curious to see like what if there will be a similar theme here. Will it be, you know, Mayday Parker and her relationship with Peter? Like what's going to be like the underlying theme throughout this? So, yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right. Anything more you want to talk about, Venkman?
I accidentally muted myself. I forgot I was unmuted. Um, no, I want to piggyback off of what Zach was saying about the whole almost a spiritual aspect. That Peter Parker is like he's missing something. Typically, we get the other stupid trope where they find out their whole life's a lie, and then their loved one can't accept that they something's missing. Like, aren't we good enough for you? Like the attitude. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't get that. We get that actually where MJ is classic MJ. She's supporting him. Peter has a supporting cast. I haven't seen this since the early days of Amazing Spider-Man, where he has people who actually help him out. People to flesh out. They're not just NPCs like they kind of been lately. So it's great to see that he not only is a guy he's constantly always worrying about stuff, but see that he realizes he has a greater responsibility. And and you took this away, and he obviously could have just said like, well, no, why me? I'm happy, I have a life.
You know, because imagine if Tony would approached him and Peter's happy, nothing was missing. You know, and I'm glad that that Hickman understood that there'd be something missing from him not being Spider-Man, because it's not just him putting on a costume. You know, it wasn't just because Uncle Ben died. You know, it's just like he's the kind of person that wants to do more. He wants to help. He doesn't know how to do it. Spider-Man gives him an outlet to do it. You know, and that's his personality. But like I said, at the end, it should have been like, son of a bitch. And that should have been it.
There was a really good tweet. It was like very simple. I'm trying to find it. I can't remember what it was word for word, but it was like normal Spider-Man gets the power, has to accept the responsibility. This Ultimate Spider-Man has the responsibility and chooses
That power.
the power or something like that. It's like the two versions are altered.
Like,
But it summed it up really nice. I'm trying to find it because it's driving
so
me crazy. I can't remember
this
it.
this disturbs me a little bit because we all know what happens to Uncle Ben all the time. Every single time there's a Spider-Man issue. So you see, it's like, oh, what would Uncle Ben say? Yeah, what would Gwen say? And it's like, you know, him getting the ability stuff. I really hope that Uncle Ben stays alive. I hope they give him because he's essentially they killed off Aunt May in this, and now that Peter's could be Spider-Man. I think they'll be different because of the fact that Ben was not there to give him a ride. Because remember, when he first got the powers, Ben gave him a ride so he could go do wrestling. And then this causes Ben to, while he's waiting for Peter to come out, because Peter's supposed to be at the library, Ben goes to pick him up, gets carjacked. Now there's another version where Ben gets killed at home in a home invasion while Peter was gone. So like I said, I really hope they don't do the whole trope. We're gonna kill kill Ben off. I love Ben. His little talks with Ben. I think they'll be great. It's like Superman talking to his pa. You know,
No, I think
obviously, I think he's gonna tell Ben
Yeah.
that he is Spider Man, and I think Ben will help him out, give him chats. You know, like conference. You know, because
Right.
I definitely that would be a great
Unless
plus.
Ben becomes the J. Jonah Jameson and Ben decides to hate Spider-Man.
Can you imagine that? Instead of Jameson, it's actually Ben in this thing who doesn't agree with Spider-Man, thinks that Spider-Man's a menace. Especially if what's his name? If this Green Goblin turns out to be a hero, and he's going after Kingpin, and he blames Kingpin for what happened to his, especially if it's Harry blaming Kingpin for his parents' death. Imagine if he starts cleaning up the town, become a hero, and here comes this other person here, Spider-Man, you know, and he's clashing with their hero. Like, that would be insane. To think that Spider-Man is the villain where Green Goblin's the hero.
Well, I don't think Spider-Man's gonna be the villain.
No. But under the paper, under the skies, and because something happens, and then imagine if Brandon Riley was the person who thinks that hey, this guy is Spider-Man is a menace. You know.
Oh, right. That's possible that they're gonna put that trope in because it'll be weird. It'll be weird to have a Spider-Man book where there's not that dynamic of like Spider-Man's looked at as a menace.
Also, I have arachnophobia. Just seeing that spider. Ugh.
Yeah.
No.
Right. Okay. So my take on this book. It's a good book. I think Hickman.
Spider-Man.
I think this book made me feel more closer to like his Fantastic Four run and less like his X-Men run. I don't know who the hell was writing X-Men, but I feel like Hickman outsourced it because it did not. And so I was a little kind of worried and was like, oh, the Ultimate Universe, like he's bringing it back. Number one, like, why did you destroy it, Marvel, if you're just going to bring it back? I know it's a different one, but point is, and I just had a really sour taste from the X-Men, and I was left feeling like, oh, maybe Hickman's lost it, you know, because that happens, right? You know, and just and I was kind of worried about the book, but it's good. This is Hickman back to form. I feel like really great demonstration of writing skill and how he progresses the story. I think overall it's a fantastic. Checchetto's art is, you know, just Checchetto's art. It's great. It's like what Zach said. It perfectly complements the type of writing that Hickman does, which is a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more adult sophisticated. It's not like cartoon books. It's, this isn't that your 13-year-old Spider-Man book, where he's just beating up bad guys. Like, there's a bigger dynamic here that you kind of have to be in a grown adult to appreciate. All of that works great for me. What doesn't work for me, and this is just being transparent, it's not really, I'm not trying to bash the book or anything, is I feel like it misses, like it doesn't feel like Spider-Man to me. It feels like if this were, I had never read a Spider-Man book in my life, I had no idea who Spider-Man was or anything like that, I would be very intrigued, I'd be in. But because I know Spider-Man, and because it's so big, and because this is clearly meant to elicit, like, look, it's Spider-Man, like, ta-da, I immediately have questions when I read this. Like, in my mind, Peter is Spider-Man because Ben died. Before Ben dies, Peter is a selfish kid. He's like, why should I be bothered doing that? He's not a hero. Ben's death is a paradigm shift that Peter has to go through and understands the great power, great responsibility. Here, Ben's still alive. Peter grew up as a white collar, obviously well-to-do. He's got the perfect family. In my brain, and maybe Hickman finds a way to communicate this, I don't know. But in my brain, I'm like, this is a different person. I don't understand why this person would have the drive to be Spider-Man the way our Peter, like the 616 Peter did, because he had life circumstances. It's the similar thing with Batman. If Bruce Wayne, his parents never die, and he grows up living with the Waynes and goes to a rich school and everything and just has a good life, that Bruce Wayne never grows up with the drive to like stop crime and clean up the city. I'm not saying he'd be a totally different person, but that he had a life circumstance that drastically altered his life and put a drive in him that I just don't see in this Peter. It's nice from a nostalgia perspective to see Peter having a loving relationship with Mary Jane, and it's very wholesome, and I like that. But I just don't understand it. The J. Jonah Jameson works for me in the sense that I go, oh, why isn't not J. Jonah Jameson being the one I know? And I go, well, he's because he's got Ben Parker. Ben Parker, obviously, in my brain, has altered how J. Jonah Jameson's view on the world is, because he's got this best friend that keeps him sane, I guess, if you will. So the way that this story plays out, I'm just like, so Peter doesn't even know Harry Osborn? Like, the things have gone so different that to me it's difficult to understand, well, if everything has gone so different, how is it all still coming around the same? How do people have the same motivations that they do? So I'm torn in the sense that I like the book and I would highly recommend it. And there's going to be tons of people that aren't going to have the same feeling I do about it. So that's totally fine as well. But I'm just being transparent that that's what kind of went through my head as I was reading the book, going, this works for me as a non-Spider-Man book more than a Spider-Man book. And it's only one issue, and it, as Venkman said, it is world building. It just perplexes me in certain areas. Another thing that perplexed me here was this scene, and I'm like, so we got a middle-aged Peter Parker, but Tony looks like dude's like 20. Like, he looks like Kid Stark here. I don't know if that's just an art issue and like the editorial.
No,
but
Tony is younger. He's a teenager.
So that's a weird dynamic. It's like, wait a second, how and this is not a Hickman issue, really. It's more of a multiversal problem that I have. I'm like, I don't. It's a little bit of a pet peeve that I have that I'm supposed to believe that there's a parallel universe out there where things all played out apparently all the same until a certain point where things diverge, and I say, okay, that's fine. things diverge. When you're close to the divergent point, things are still kind of similar, right? So, but in this case, Tony's not even, he's like 20 years younger, like just different. Like I don't see, like, why would Tony, so many things would have to be earlier in the timeline to have gone different for Tony not
Peter,
to be 20 years younger. Then that makes me go, well, that's radically different. Then so many other things would be radically different. So how it to me, it makes me go that things are just too convenient. And I don't know. I'm having a hard time articulating this, but it just, it throws me for a loop. Now, if you say this is a what if, then I go, okay, then it's just something totally different. Or if you say to me, well, Ash, this is just like a reimagining, like it's a just like, you know, like what they do with the James Bond every time they sort of reboot it, or like the Batman movies, like in this world things played out this way. I say, okay, I can totally buy into that. But here, this isn't that. This is actually part of the Marvel multiverse. So
this is 1660. This isn't 1610.
I get it, but it's the way
And
the
Maker's also Maker also highly selected people for this universe. They're not all from the same universe. He molded this universe by bringing in other people too.
Okay, well, that is true that I haven't read some of the other books, but I'm just being transparent about how what's going on in my head. I could be wrong about things. I'm not saying that my perception is accurate, but I've read one book and this is just how I came. So I do really like the book and I would continue reading it. I just had a few like, I feel like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, and that's not my intent. I'm just really just trying to be express like what was going on in my head. Um, it's fine in the I guess in the greater how we say, in the bigger picture, part of me is kind of glad that things are radically different, because one of the things that annoyed me about the original Ultimate Universe was that it really just was the Marvel Universe, but it was like, let's just make it more realistic and less comic booky. And I was like, so you're just trying to make it like the movies?
It made it edgy.
And
It was,
and I'm like,
yeah.
I understand why movies do that, because you have to appeal to a mainstream normie audience that aren't into comics. So you try to like tone down the comic bookiness of it. But in comic books, I was always annoyed. I'm like, you don't need to do that in comic books. So here, I guess I do appreciate that it is so different, that I'm not just getting like, hey, like if you go and read original Ultimate Spider-Man by Bendis, it's like, it just basically, he plagiarized Stan Lee. Like it's just like, oh, it's all almost exactly the same, but I was like, why am I reading this then? Here, you're getting something radically different. Like
I wouldn't say he plagiarized it. He stretched out the whole Uncle Ben's death to 6 issues instead of only being like where it's like not even the first issue. It's like a panel in the first issue where Ben dies.
Right, but
the villains were different too.
But the plot line, it essentially was the same. Like it just, he didn't really bring.
You're gonna have the same if you're doing exactly in this. The fact that this isn't a normal multiverse thing. This is actually Maker who went out and perfected it to his own liking.
No, I'm talking about the original Ultimate Universe.
Yeah. I know.
What I didn't like was that it was essentially a carbon copy, and I was like, "What's the point? Why are you doing a separate universe where the things happen the same?" Like
that's kind of like Earth 1, Earth 2 of DC Universe. You know, slightly different things. One might be a little older, one might be a little younger. This is the Maker taking things and putting it all into.
But what I'm trying to say is what didn't work for me in the original Ultimate Universe was how the same it was.
Well, you wouldn't like. I'm just saying, you wouldn't like Earth 2 of DC Universe then. How similar it was.
Right. My point is, if you're gonna do a different universe, what's the point if it's just the same? Like if it's a carbon copy, like you're having that. What I'm trying to give this credit to say Hickman is doing something different. He's saying in the Ultimate Universe, things are different.
Ultimate
And so
Universe.
there's a
the original
reason
Ultimate
to
Universe,
read it.
The original Ultimate Universe was a what if. That's all it was. It
The
was one-
original Ultimate Universe was meant to make things more adult or more realistic-ish
Yeah.
instead
Right.
of comic booky.
Right.
This Ultimate Universe is like what you're saying, Ash. It is different. If you check out the synopsis for the new Ultimate X-Men or Ultimate Black Panther, they sound very different from standard X-Men or standard Black Panther, which is something that I actually also like. Because as much as I do like some of the original Ultimate stuff, they are all very similar. There are some tweaks here and there, but overall, they are just revamped, modernized versions of classic canon. The Fantastic Four still get their powers in a science accident. The X-Men still go to the Xavier Institute. Daredevil's still a blind guy. Like all of this stuff, it's all the same as classic Marvel. It's just
Right.
revamped for a modern audience. It's
Yeah.
the same. It's like if you see The Force Awakens, it's the same plot line as
Well,
A New Hope.
As far, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak about the other ones, but I do remember Tony was still an alcoholic. Natasha was
Tony what?
was a thought was it what actually
Was a
was
spy. She was a
spy.
spy. Yep.
Was murdered. Hawkman was
Hawkeye.
or Hawkeye. He was much more violent and killer.
Yeah, those are little tweaks, but like overall, like they were all still
Gwen
Avengers.
Gwen Stacy was Carnage. You know, the whole Eddie Brock situation with Venom. It's just like they added different changes. It's just like there was some things that are still the same, but they tweaked them.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
this is completely like I'm just gonna put my own Legos and add characters. Like if it's like you brought in the whole Lego aspect before, Zach. With Transformers. Now imagine like, well, I don't have this version of this Lego. I have this other version, so I'm gonna take this version and make my own universe, pretty much, which I really like. And having a younger Tony Stark doesn't really bother me because I'm curious, what's Hickman gonna do with this character?
So I actually looked that up because I was pretty sure I couldn't remember if I had read anything about why Tony Stark is younger or not, but I was just looking it up here. Tony Stark's armor, his Iron Lad armor, because he's Iron Lad, and in this Ultimate Universe, he doesn't feel he's earned the title of Iron Man. But his Iron Lad armor has a Kang time machine in it, so he's able to move backwards and forwards in time with his Iron Man armor.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that might explain why he appears younger. Maybe he just went into the future.
Well,
Where Peter Parker
Howard's
was
younger
older.
too, though, right? Because if Howard was Iron Man in
Howard
2000,
Howard was the same age as he was back in the '60s.
Howard was a grown man when Howard would be side by side with Tony. It was like a father-son. Like Tony was a teenager talking to his 40, 50-year-old father, I guess.
yeah, but Howard helped Captain America in World War II.
Yeah, so that this Howard was actually in.
So what I'm saying is this
Right.
Howard's much younger than his counterpart, which explains why
we also
Tony's
don't-
younger.
Yeah.
Their forward, like their generational time, like happens later in time, but Peter isn't moved forward along with it. So now Peter is actually like 15 years older than Iron Man, like Tony Stark, because the time scales didn't shift equally with all the characters. So that's where it's throwing me off.
Well, think about that. They even had the Hulk is older than Tony.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are gonna be older than Tony if they're making him a kid.
Just think of it like Gotham.
So, like I said, on its own in a vacuum, like I'm enjoying it. It's a really well written book. It's intriguing. I like these characters. I like the decision making on how to do the characters differently. I feel like Hickman smartly, when he altered characters, he didn't just expect you to be like, well, just go with it. JJ's different because I said. Like he doesn't ever he gives you reasons to go, okay, he's different, but I kind of buy why he's different. Like it works for me.
That affected his personality.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say real quickly, you said that this Peter Parker doesn't seem like he has a drive.
I
He does
disagree.
have the drive. I just don't buy why he has the drive.
I buy it because like he gets it from Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben inspires him,
Sure. I don't think
and
that Peter
Uncle
would
Ben,
be like a deadbeat. What I'm saying though is like to be Spider-Man is a lot more than just being like I'm a good person, I want to help people.
with
I'm sure Bruce
with
Wayne would have grown up to be like a good person and help
also
people.
with
His
Aunt May's death. Aunt May's death, he probably wants to make sure that it never happens again. In fact, he learns that now he has the power. He is going to take the responsibility to make sure.
perhaps we'll see where this goes. Like it's this one book, and so a lot
Yeah.
of my reaction is based on speculation and just first gut reaction, and a lot of times things will change because you get more of
Uh,
the story and you go, oh, okay, that's
or
where this is going.
can we get an
I'm not
Ultimate Iron? I want an Ultimate Iron Land book. We have Armored Adventures with the roller skates.
um so like I said, my intention wasn't to like bash this book or anyway. It was more of just to try to
I know.
give a little bit of a critical side to it about and just be transparent about how I was thinking. Like I said, I do think it's a good book. I do find it a little interesting. One of the things I was reading about when I was reading this, I was thinking to myself, I know like RDV loves this book, but I also remember like you had a big problem with the
Ultimate
Disney,
Invasion.
the
Or-
Disney Spider-Man movies. And I remember when we talked about in the past, you would talk about some of the similar things that I'm talking about here about like there's no Uncle
When it
Ben,
comes,
like and you were like
yeah,
and all these and I think those are valid criticisms because
yeah.
I personally think Uncle Ben is a formative factor of who Spider-Man is. With no Uncle Ben, there is no Spider-Man. And so
Well,
so
those movies because they're
my question to you is if this were made into a movie, like if you weren't reading this as a comic book and someone said, we're making a Spider-Man movie and it played out like this, do you think you would have had the same reaction or do you think it would have been like, whoa, what the hell kind of Spider-Man is this?
I kind of feel like I would have a better reaction than I would the current one because it wouldn't have the stupid. This doesn't have the stupid MCU campy humor. This
That's
actually
true.
seems more. This treats you like an adult.
Okay, that's a good point.
But I mean, like, this is what we as Spider-Man fans we've been wanting. Like, ever since Peter and MJ, like, like she got pregnant. Like we wanted, and then we had Spider. If we read Spider-Girl series, it was fun. It's like we've been wanting this. Like the last time I saw Peter Parker this mature was right around Civil War. He had just before I guess before he joined the Bendis' New Avengers, he was working at the high school and he was working as a science teacher. Like we actually saw his life was on track. He's married to MJ and stuff. It was like really cool to see him as an adult and not a man-child. So we don't see a man-child in this, at least not yet. Like that's making me real complaints. Like, well, Peter Parker needs to grow up. He's always being like a man-child. Is it because he jokes around? As Spider-Man. Will this be a much more serious Spider-Man?
Right. Should be. I don't. I mean,
it's because remember he's not classic Spider-Man who grew up as a kid, and had to grow up real fast. So he kind of stayed. He still has the aspect of the humor and stuff because he says a thing. He admitted in the 616 that he tells jokes when he's nervous. That's how he keeps himself from going crazy.
Yep.
So I wonder, will we get the same quippy humor?
That's another thing too.
Yeah.
That the MJ relationship. I like it because it harkens back to the 616 relationship with Peter and Mary. But then I'm forced to think, well, wait a second. As much as like this is nostalgic and it's refreshing and enjoyable, the 616 relationship was based on this whole storyline, like that Peter is able to get with someone like Mary Jane because being Spider-Man gave him confidence, right? Before he was Spider-Man, he was like the awkward nerd kid and, didn't do well socially.
So what
as
happens?
Spider-Man. So in this world, he's never Spider-Man, but he still gets the girl. Like
We had
that's a
talked
good.
about this too before this. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, how is he? So
Yeah.
that was the thing we had talked about. Is like, how does he
Okay.
get the confidence? He was never Spider-Man, because being Spider-Man gave him the confidence. So I hope Hickman explains that too, because that's a big plot hole too. It's like, where did Peter Parker
It's
suddenly
yeah.
get
Like
this?
how did he still end up with Mary Jane and never being Spider-Man? I don't. Do we just accept it because that's what we want, or do
Maybe Mary Jane's the breadwinner in this universe?
even?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Or maybe,
So I know. Is
or
it one of
maybe,
those things?
maybe,
Is it one of those
maybe he's a
things where
nice.
it's like this greater destiny? Like Peter's always supposed to be with Mary Jane, and so
Or
you know.
look at the Tobey Maguire movie. She had a shitty relationship. They were kind of neighbors, and then him just being a nice guy, and then he actually listened and she took a chance on him. I said they're the Spider-Man, but maybe she realized, hey, this is a nice guy. This guy's he's got a good career, and he's in this. He's focused. It's like maybe she fell in love naturally that way. Without Spider-Man. And maybe Spider-Man has never been the catalyst for him being with Mary Jane. We just assume it because, wait, what's that nerd being with this hot chick? That doesn't happen.
Well, remember though, Peter was Spider-Man. Mary Jane didn't know that, but it still affected who Peter was. Right? And so his confidence allowed him to make the connection. Without
I'm
that,
talking about the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but even in the Tobey Maguire, they're not dating before he's Spider-Man.
No, but like I said, and he's talked to her, never seen all that stuff. He basically years go by after high school, and she still recognizes him. He may have had more confidence to speak to her, but who knows? Maybe she approached him first, and then you said she made the first move, and and Uncle Ben kind of gave him the pep talk and stuff. Who knows? Where Aunt May got involved.
I'm sure there's.
It's having Aunt May and Uncle Ben in his life versus only having just Aunt May without spider powers. Maybe the two of them gave him the confidence boost he needs. I said I hope that Hickman addresses it in the second issue, or at least third issue.
It might be fourth or fifth issue. Hickman does like to set up all of his stuff.
I know.
Take his time.
It could be. It could be one of those things that like I said, that it's like the cosmos works towards certain goals and certain things like happen, because he does hint at it. I mean, there's a fact that Peter's never Spider-Man, but there's a whole scene where he's just like, I knew there was something inside me that I just knew something was wrong. Here we go, right here. He's like, it's just for the longest time I thought something was wrong with my life, Ben. That something was wrong with me. I can't really explain it, but I just know that I've been right all along and I don't know what to do. So clearly, like, some subconscious sixth sense that he has is able to go like Neo, like waking up in the Matrix. Like he doesn't know what it is, he just knows. And so maybe him getting with Mary Jane is just a way of like, there's like a magnetism of like, even though he didn't go through the path that we understand as the audience, that the universe still kind of wedged them together. Does that make sense?
Is this him talking to Ben after he got the orb the night before and learned all this stuff about being Spider-Man?
It doesn't really matter because
the orb happens before the entire book.
Okay.
But
so
he gets So.
But look at
Ben's pretty much there to push him though.
Yeah, but look at this line. He says, "For the longest time." So Peter's been feeling this way before the orb. The orb didn't make him feel this way.
Well, imagine if someone robbed you of something you're meant to do, but you didn't know what it was, but you're meant to do something more in life, and you just feel unfulfilled. You have a happy life, and he kind of feels that way. So,
right, but how would you know that? How would you know that?
It's like a sixth sense, bro.
Yeah, it's like, this is where, and actually, I was just thinking about this too. It's like, one of the things we all like about Spider-Man is he's kind of, we call him the everyman. He's something that everybody can kind of find that thing and relate to. I feel like this is something that a lot of people, like at least me, and I'm sure there are probably a lot of other people, it's like, as you're living life, it's like there's a part of you that's like, man, this, stuff doesn't go the way you plan, or like there's a part of your area of your life that's just like unfulfilled. And so I feel like Peter, like admitting this to Uncle Ben, like that's his everyman moment right there.
He has like he has the family, he has a good job, and he knows in his heart it should be enough, but there's something missing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. No, I understand that. What I'm saying is, how would he know that? And when answering that question, I'm positing the premise that maybe the sense that maybe that he knows is because the universe has been altered and something's wrong, and maybe because of the fact that he knows means that there is destiny, right? And if there is destiny, that would explain why he and Mary Jane still get together, because even though certain things were changed due to the maker, the destiny of the universe is still trying to posit people, like push things together that are supposed to happen.
Could
And
be.
so it
Ooh.
finds a way that,
There's a grand design, yes.
yeah, like a
I
grand
wonder if
design.
that's gonna be the theme. I wonder if the theme is gonna be like a free will versus predestination type deal. Oh, that'd be meta. That'd
Well,
be
it-
totally a Pikmin
You,
sleeve.
you imagine if Peter gets a choice at the end, you can fix your universe to restore it's supposed to be, or you can let it keep going. It's like, do I keep being married to MJ with kids and Uncle Ben alive, or do I reset it the way it's supposed to be? Like
well,
that'd
we'll
be
see.
that'd be the most horrific thing to do to Peter.
But I could see Hickman exploring a theme like that. That's a good call, Zach. In any
But
case, I mean, it's extremely intriguing. I very much, I don't like the book as much as you guys do, but it's a good book. It's really well done.
I mean, I can understand it because I like Spider-Man more than you do. I'm more a huge Spider-Man fan, and you've kind of been like, you see, with even Zach. Zach is kind of like Zach's like, I like Spider-Man, but he's not like huge in the books like Breen and like Marani. And I know Marani's more the Iron Man fan, but she's slowly been reading the Spider-Man books. She's enjoying it more.
What's gonna be the real test is when Ultimate X-Men comes out, and it's written and drawn by Peach Momoko. And so we'll know if we'll know from Ash then, because I know Ash is the X-Men fan. So that'll be the real test.
Ultimate Black Panther, Brian Hell. I actually might be buying a Black Panther book.
I thought that one does look interesting to me. I know you like him on Blade. I'm kind of interested in this Black Panther one that he's doing. They did also announce there is going to be an Ultimates book. I think it's being drawn by Brian Hitch. I forgot the name.
So here's the real
of the writer.
Here's the real challenge for me. Will Hickman bring in the Clone Saga?
Oh, please no. Yeah, I can't believe Peach Momoko's got a book. Ugh.
I just first I've heard of it. I didn't. I actually.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first. There was Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men. Those were the first 3 books that were announced.
So the costume he has right now looks like the noir black costume he had in Spider-Man: Homecoming, or was it or was it Far From Home? Or he's in Paris, where he's fighting in the black costume.
That was Far From Home.
Yeah,
that was Far From Home.
That's what it looks like. He's got the black stealth suit. I'm like, I wonder if he'll alter it, like change the color, like because I wonder if he's a tech guy in this too. It'd be kind of cool. Because remember, he built his tech based off his science stuff. That's why it's the costume. So now he's this. I wonder if Peter Parker's still involved if he's still a science nerd.
Yeah, that's another thing that kind of got me. It's like,
if it's just a symbiote and just allows it to swing around, he's not a tech nerd. Well, come on, really? Then what's the point of that? But the costume, they keep showing the red costume, so I have a feeling he's going to make that costume or alter this costume.
Or the costume can just alter itself.
That's kind of cheap. I don't like symbiotes like that for certain characters that already have established costumes. Like Venom makes sense because Venom is a symbiote with Eddie Brock in there.
Well,
like,
I mean, but you're accepting of all these other changes. Like, why not?
No, I hate the Green Goblin costume there. Iron Goblin. I hate Iron Spider. I hate Iron Goblin. So, and I wonder though, did he get the Goblin costume? Did he break into one of Stark's facilities?
I do wish. I'm unsure. I'm unsure of the whole decision to make Peter Parker like a reporter, because I agree with you. A big part of Spider-Man was his tech knowledge. Like he makes the web spinners. Like,
here's the other thing. What if Daredevil we saw here, Father Matthews, actually isn't blind? He was given the gift of having his abilities by Tony Stark as well.
will that
You know,
come
what
into
if
play?
the Maker just showed up one day and stopped him from running into traffic and getting that radioactive sludge in his face?
The maker just shows up, throws sludge
Well,
in his face. Bitch.
Here's the problem, though: is the reason why Daredevil's blind is because the radioactive sludge is in his face. So if Matt Murdock is blind, it stands to reason that he's got the powers of Daredevil. My
Maybe he already
guess,
does, yeah.
my guess is that he is Daredevil, but instead of being a lawyer, he's a priest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my.
that'd be interesting. I'd read that.
I'm
we
beating
got Peter
Jesus into
Parker,
you.
right? Instead of being a photographer, he's a
Instead of
reporter.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Matthew Murdock, confess your sins as he beats the crap out of you.
Yeah. No Catholic guilt. Be based Catholic, Murdoch. Absolutely.
But you did bring up a
That's what I want.
you do bring up a good point. Without the scientific knowledge that Peter, like,
Yeah.
it's one of my pet peeves when they do all the like the Spider-Verse. You got like Spider-Gwen and or even Miles Morales. I'm like, why do these guys have web spinners? Only Peter could make those. Like, you can have them be bit by a radioactive spider and they can have the powers that Spider-Man. They could wall crawl, but they would have never been able to do the web spinners.
Well,
it's stupid.
Gwen has a symbiote. That's how she's able to do the spider stuff. She's not a tech wizard at all.
Wait.
Gwen has a symbiote?
Yeah.
She had a symbiote. She hadn't had a symbiote the whole time, though.
Ghost Spider?
Yeah, the white
Spider-Gwen
suit,
was
the hood
just...
and the sneakers. That's not a symbiote.
No, currently is. It's been that since for about a couple of years now.
Current, but original.
I don't know what it was in the original Spider-Gwen.
In Spider-Gwen,
she
gets bit instead, is my understanding.
Yeah, she gets bit instead of Peter.
Yeah.
Peter turns into the lizard.
Yeah, how she swings around is through her fingertips because she has a symbiote. She has.
Yeah, that's right. The webs come out of her fingertips, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's more like Maguire Spider-Man, because Maguire Spider-Man wasn't tech. They made it to where the webs came out of his wrists.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, when they remember they changed the name to Ghost Spider, and guys are all pissed off.
Yeah, I'm still pissed off about that.
She had a symbiote in that.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm not pissed off that they called her Ghost Spider. But my understanding was the original design for she may have gotten a symbiote later, but I don't think that was part of her original.
I guess I don't know
originally. No, it wasn't.
But in that series, though, I like the fact they gave her a symbiote. But the symbiote is basically one of the synthetic symbiotes, kind of like the Maker has.
But either way, we now know that there's thousands and thousands of Spider-Men, and not all of them are Peter Parker. And the ones that aren't Peter Parker, it's stupid because they shouldn't have web spinners. Like, I'm just saying that's my pet peeve.
What if the webs come out of them though? Just like Maguire Parker.
I'm just disturbed now that there actually is a Spider-Man that has his web comes out of his butt.
That's a
oh boy, I don't have
that's a possibility, but I don't. It's this is like multiverse. Like, it wouldn't make sense that if you, like, sometimes the spider bites you and you get webs out of your wrists, and sometimes the spider bites you and you don't. Like, that's why I said the multiverse stuff kind of gets just weird.
Well, DB, thankfully, you didn't read the Outsiders book where there's a multiverse of Kate Kane's and Batman's.
Yeah. So either way, I'm interested to see where this is going. It's well written. It does feel like a movie. I do like the way Hickman writes. He does write much more like cinematically for grown-ups. It's a bit more intellectual, sophisticated.
It's missing.
Definitely not a book. I don't think the kids are gonna like this book. This book would be kind of boring.
The kids aren't the ones that grew up with 80s and 90s Spider-Man and MJ, too.
So Spider-Man's missing a cape. That's what he's missing right now. And some lightning in the background, call him Batman.
Let's see. Aunt May's death is a catalyst for Peter to be the hero, says Manya. Flip the script. I would push back on that for the fact that, I mean, there's no indication that Peter has this like long-lasting like trauma of Aunt May's death. Like, she died, and it sucks.
We don't know.
We all have deaths in our...
Was Peter there, or was Peter like, you know? You don't know.
We don't know. What I'm saying is we don't have any indication.
Yeah.
because it wasn't
Yeah.
just the simple fact that Ben died that caused Peter. It's how Ben died. It's the fact that Peter
Because of
could
Peter's
have
actions.
stopped it and he
Choice.
didn't, and that fundamentally transformed him.
So I hope they show that maybe like he
Well,
was supposed to stop. Remember, he was going to give Aunt May a ride, but he was too busy for work and the
Aunt
kids.
May dies in an explosion that happens in Ultimate Invasion. It's what Howard Stark gets blamed for and like villainized for, is this explosion
Right.
that kills a whole bunch of people. So if he's Peter Parker and he's thinking, well, maybe if I was Spider-Man, I could have saved her and could have saved a whole bunch of other people, because this is supposed to have the impact. Like, you see the memorial service, it
Yeah,
it comes across very much like if you've ever been to like a 9/11 memorial service, or like, one of those. It comes off as like this huge incident, like this huge catastrophe. And he could have, like, maybe he has survivor's guilt, maybe he was out of town or something when that happened and he wasn't there to help
Or
Aunt May.
well, maybe it was Aunt May's birthday and he was supposed to be there to celebrate.
certainly. Those are all valid like theories, and my point is that generally those type of things don't drive people to become a superhero. Like, it may drive you to like live your life a little better, help people more, but just to be
Hey.
like, oh, I have survivor's guilt, so therefore I'm going to dedicate my life to like fighting crime. It's a bit of a stretch. So I hope that Hickman, and he's got the ability, but I'm just noticing that now.
So-
Melania says,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Venkman.
I was just gonna bring up her point about the whole MJ thing.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to.
What if MJ, like, because we don't know, MJ could be a model, or she could be have her own fashion line. Maybe she designs the costume for him. That'd be awesome.
That would be kind of
even
cool.
more FU to Marvel.
I don't
Yeah,
think
Melania
he's
says,
gonna try to say "F you" to the people giving him a paycheck for this.
Well, look at the other
I
treat
feel
him.
like that's not. I feel like that's not a smart business strategy in a very
Well,
small circle of creators.
Look how they treated him on the X-Men. They kind of
Maybe he walked away from. Maybe he chose to walk away from X-Men. Maybe it's not so much that they fired him. Maybe he just decided it wasn't worth the hassle.
no, I think he did walk away, but the
Okay.
point would still stand that he didn't get to finish his thing that he was planning. He walked away
Yeah.
in phase 1. From what I understand, he had a 3-phase plan, and he walked away in phase 1. So, regardless, Marani says MJ could support her man and make the red and blue costume. I agree with Venkman. That to me would play. I would not mind a change like that. That I always felt it was kind of weird that like Peter Parker, the science nerd, like designs this awesome looking costume. I'm like, oh, you're like an artist too. like it would be kind of cool if they like that part of it came from MJ.
It's kind of like in Lois and Clark Superman, the TV series, or even I guess any of the Superman stuff with with a Byrne. Clark's mother made his costume.
Yeah. But just not to belabor the point, my issue isn't about the costume. However he gets the costume, like that, it's the web spinner thing that's the big deal. Like, we'll see how Hickman explains that. Like, we'll just have to wait and see. Rania says, no Daredevil, no TMNT. Boo on Hickman for that possibility.
So I'm thinking right now with this, he has the costume, but maybe the costume, he has the powers. Maybe he doesn't have the web spinner yet. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe he can't swing from webs yet. That was a problem he ran into, and he had to design one.
Yeah, that could be. But the problem, though, at least from what we've been made aware of, Peter's not a scientist, right? If Peter was a scientist and he doesn't have the web spinners now, we at least see the trajectory of like, oh, he's gonna eventually. But here it's like, oh, he's been a reporter his whole life. Like, maybe he did science back in 15 years ago.
Hickman. Hickman's gonna take like eight issues to explain how he gets his, creates the web spinners.
I just hope it's not like Tony included the schematics for the web spinner.
Iron Boy, Iron Spider. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I always thought that was like a cool thing about Spider-Man.
Oh, I hated that. That was the thing I hated most in the movie, was that with Tom Holland, is that Tony made everything for him.
Right. I always liked that Peter made these webs And like even Reed, there was I don't forget what issue it was, but there was like a comic where like Reed Richards is like impressed. He's like, "Wow, this compound you came up with." Like it, like Reed like hints, he like intimates that like even he wouldn't have come up with this. And it was just
Yes.
like, oh, like Peter's not the super scientist of Marvel, but there's one thing that he did. And that's typical of science in actuality, right? Like most scientists have like a
It was
specialty that they're
patent.
like,
Yeah.
you know, in Marvel, like Reed Richards like can do anything. It's like that's typically not how that works. Like you have the one thing that you're really good at, and that's your forte. And I like that about Peter. It's like he had this chemical compound that he came up with, and that's was, and
Ooh,
it was cool. Like I hope they don't lose that.
would be really cool if Peter Parker was instead of forensic Angelus
Oh,
for like
if
the
he's like a
Beagle.
right.
Like he,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know if
like Carly Cooper was a forensic analyst when they
uh,
introduced her in the.
a forensic analyst is a little bit different than like a
But
science
we don't remember
thing.
he hasn't been Spider-Man, so he went to college. He could have had a love for science, and we just don't see it. That's all because he decided to go journalism because that's what Uncle Ben was in.
Yes. However, if you're out of science for 20 years,
It changes.
you don't you're not
Oh,
on the
he might
cutting
tinker though.
edge. So
He might tinker here and there. Like I said, yes, you're not a cutting edge, but doesn't mean you can't get back into it though.
I would have
You
a
might be a little
hard time
hard.
buying that if you're like, yeah, this guy who like dabbled in science when he was in high
This is
school.
also a superhero universe. Logic is out the window for the most part.
Except not in Hickman's storylines. He doesn't tend to write that way. So,
Yeah, so who knows?
we'll see. He probably has got a reason. I'm guessing I'm guessing it's the suit. I'm on this theory craft that little black ball is the suit and all the tech is in that suit, and I think that suit may show to be a symbiote later on. But a different kind of symbiote, not the, you know, uh the Venom symbiote, but
No.
like a tech symbiote that
I'm
the Ultimate
more
Universe came up with.
I'm more curious about as far as looking for this how his kid's gonna react. He's gonna keep the secret from his kids now. MJ may know, but his kids is like, are they gonna blab, say stuff? You know,
That's an interesting dynamic. We'll
it's
see.
like, well, because remember, well, the difference between Flash family and this family is that only Peter has powers, where Wally's kids both have speed. They're both speedsters, so they get into more crap.
Yeah, and that is
And
actually kind of cool. I'm so glad that Hickman kind of did this, like get your powers afterwards, because if it's like I was bit, when I was 16, this whole like, oh, now my kids have inherited like you know me, I don't like the legacy stuff. So,
I
um
hate to tell you that the kids also got 3 orbs as well.
so yeah, so the idea that that's passed down, it's just Peter Parker Spider-Man. Thank you. Like none of this.
They
The whole
well,
family, it's a Spider family.
maybe there's something hidden in their DNA locked away. They've always had that ability, or they'll be exposed to Terrigen
Oh my
Mist.
goodness. You just can't help yourself. You all right.
They're Inhumans now. Who knows? I don't know.
It'll be
Or
interesting.
maybe
I
the
mean, it'll definitely play into factors of like Peter always fearing like his loved ones
oh
being
snap! His kids have the X gene. That's why they're gonna tie it to the X-Men.
anyways.
Thank
um
you, Ash.
anyways. So yeah, I'm just glad it's going to be about Spider-Man. I don't want an Ultimate Spider-Man book that's really about like, oh, the kids have the powers and then they go out and like that would be annoying. That would not be
You don't want to
interesting
be
to me.
You don't want to be like a Fantastic Four comic.
No, that's why we have Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four can be Fantastic Four.
We don't have the Ultimate Fantastic Four. We actually don't even have the real Fantastic Four. We have Ryan North Fantastic Four.
Which is
Ooh,
not bad Fantastic Four.
he just had to take his dig.
He normally does. That's okay. People
Let-
fear what they don't understand. It's okay.
It's it's been 16 days.
Zach guy.
Not even that long.
What do you mean?
You had a New Year's resolution. You were going to be nicer to Zach.
Yeah, I am nicer to Zach. There's a lot of stuff I could say about Zach, but I don't say it.
Oh,
No.
I confused being nicer with being nice.
Yeah. It's a common mistake.
Yeah.
No, I've actually been nice to Zach. You should hear all the stuff they say about Zach on the readings.
Oh, I
What
hear.
readings? Y'all still do readings?
Resisting the
hear.
joke, Zach. Resisting the joke. That's a clickbait.
All right. So
Clickbait.
we are coming to the end of the show, and I'm not going to really talk about new comics because that's what you guys are going to talk about tomorrow over on the Geeky Puppet Show. Is that still at 8 Central?
Yep. 8 Central, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's the only time you can see
I
Zach on the
will
channel.
not be able to make that show, so I'm just going to tell everyone right now that my number one pick of the week is the Enfield Gang Massacre final issue. It's wrapping up. Super excited. One of the best books of 2023. Yes, I look
It's
forward
a
to
pretty good lineup for this week, though. I was looking at it. You got Garth Ennis on James Bond. His first issue's coming out.
that. That is something I just found out today. I did not
Huh.
know Garth Ennis was doing a James Bond. If the art is good, that will be like almost like a must-read comic.
I also have is it the third or fourth issue of the Jay Garrick Jeremy Adams story coming
I
out,
think it's 4.
and then Godzilla versus Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh man, and then I'm looking, dude. Superman back in the past. Well, West stuff. I'm excited for that. And Enfield Gang. There's a lot of books I'm excited for. It's gonna be hard to narrow it down for me. But Enfield
Easy
Gang.
for me. I
I'll-
only have 5 books.
I'll spoil it right now and say that Enfield Gang will be in my top 5. You just don't know where.
Oh, you guys don't need to spoil your picks for tomorrow. But since I'm not going to be on the show, I just figured I might as well talk about mine.
Mm-hmm.
I am very interested in this James Bond book because of Garth Ennis. I have to see what the art is like. But regardless, at the very least, I will be borrowing Venkman's copy to read because that's how we started the show. Was on Garth Ennis. We did the whole boys, and that was mind-blowingly good. I became a Garth Ennis fan, so I will now give him a shot on anything. And I think I already love James Bond. I typically don't read James Bond comics because I'm not confident of a writer to deliver something quality. You know, like I want my James Bond to be good. And Garth Ennis is good, so we'll see.
Oh, speaking of trades coming out, there's the Clone Saga trades coming out.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's on my thing. Zach, you've been kind of quiet. I hope I didn't monopolize the mic too much and not give you a chance to speak. Do you have any final things you want to talk about, or is on your mind, or final comments, or whatever?
No, you didn't monopolize the microphone. You didn't hog it. This is your channel, so
It's our show.
it's true. But no, don't really have anything to add. My top 5 picks, my only 5 picks. Will be tomorrow night on the Geeky Puppet Show. And other than that, I don't think I have a whole.
This will be your first week of the year where you actually have 5 picks.
Yes, that is true. Because this past week I only had 4.
And the week before that,
A week before that, I think I had 3.
3. Yep.
What's really funny is I looked ahead to like the last week in February. Every book that I'm pulling decided to release an issue the last week in February. So that week is like 10 issues. What on earth?
That's how it
So
goes, man.
I gotta pick 5, and then I'm gonna pick up the other half. I guess the following week or whatever.
It happens to me all the time. I'll be like, "Oh, I have 4 books this week. Okay, well, what's going next week? Oh, good, I have 20."
Yeah, right.
It's like
Like,
everything,
who
everything,
plans the release schedules for these things?
right? Uh,
They're not
Oh,
doing a great job.
Chip Zdarsky's writing an Avengers book?
Yeah, it's an alternate. It's like an Elseworlds-ish story. It's like, what if the Avengers didn't exist or something? I thought about picking it up. I like the artist. I think it's Daniel Acuna. But Chip Zdarsky's, I don't know. He's very hit or miss for me right now. I don't feel like taking a chance on it. I may wait till after the whole story comes out.
wait till you hear if people like it or not.
Yeah,
I don't
Oh,
blame you.
I may give it the RDV preview.
the last time Chip Zdarsky tackled something Avengers adjacent was his Invaders book, which I have not read yet,
Yep.
but it's been on my to-do list. People loved that
Mhm.
book, and that would have Captain America.
Yeah.
Was
So
that wait?
He did a Justice League short story run that was pretty decent. It was pretty good.
Was that a 3-issue miniseries where the invaders from the past come to the present?
No, that was a different Invader story.
Okay,
I think.
I remember that. I read that one. That's what I liked.
Yeah, that one was that was Avengers / Invaders. That was a 12-issue series from Jim Kruger.
so it's got nice Alex Ross covers.
Yep.
Captain
This is
America
from
on it,
20.
then Iron Man. Then we got this girl and
Who?
That girl.
Thor. So, man, it's gonna have some sweet. I like
Yeah.
this. I like this Thor design. Pretty
The
cool.
Thor design looks, yeah, all the costume designs, like, shoot, even Miss Marvel looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, the premise is interesting.
The premise.
Premise. Say it, Vinkman. Say it.
Premise.
I've heard it both ways.
What are you talking about? It's always been premise.
No, it's not. It's premise.
It's-
It's like I'm over here with Englentine telling me how to pronounce words or something.
It's
Oh.
it's actually pronounced mimif.
You know what? Actually, looking at this Iron Man cover and kind of even the Captain America one, it's kind of like Marvel saying, "Hey, you know that story Kingdom Come? What if we did it?" Because Iron Man looks all really glossied up, kind of like when when Alex Ross did, I think it was Green Lantern, like in his Emerald Knight costume. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like I said, I may pick it up when the trade comes out if it's good enough. But
I think Chip Zdarsky is a talented writer. If he can leave,
Mhm.
if he can leave his politics out of the book, and if he can leave the joke, like when he writes jokey stuff, it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
Like you
But he
said,
writes
he
yeah,
was
serious stuff. He understands how to tell good human drama. I think that's why his Daredevil works so well for me. The premise of this about Steve Rogers is not Captain America, and he's floating through an America where freedom is an illusion, where the Avengers are strangers and his friends are long dead. But is the dream? How do you assemble Avengers in a world that doesn't want them? To me, I go, oh, that's an interesting premise, and then I go, oh, that seems like it could also be a Trump derangement syndrome book. Like I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
so
It kind of
It,
does.
his
We'll have to
public
wait and
domain.
see.
His public domain book was actually really cool. Little miniseries he had.
no, he's a
His
good writer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some blunders.
I didn't
but-
care. I didn't care for Daredevil, for as much as Ash did. I was loving Batman, and then he decided to throw him into a different universe and chop his hand off.
You
Now-
love Batman for 3 issues.
It felt like 5 at least. But I mean, like, it just got to the point where, and then we get the Gotham War on top of that, and then he's involved in that. It's just the point where it's like, why am I reading this? And I just end up stopped reading it. You know, it feels weird to quit a book. I feel like, oh, what if I missed out something good? But like, I've been keeping tabs on it. It's like, I really didn't miss anything. You know,
Yeah. See, that's why I'm holding off. I'm at the
that's
point now where it's like I don't want to spend $4 to $5 on a book if I'm not at least 90% sure that I'm gonna enjoy it. Like I'm
I'm
at the point right now where unfortunately it's like I can't afford to take too many gambles or risk with my comics. Like this
Yeah.
could be really good. It's also a miniseries, and I'm also trying to wean myself off of miniseries.
I'm also a completionist too. So if I start watching something and maybe I don't like it as much, if I pause it and I have to go back and I have to go finish it because I want to see if it gets worse or bad. I did that with Jessica Jones season 3, and I probably should have saved brain cells by not doing that. But I wanted to finish it, and I
Uh,
finished it. So like I hate being like you rent something or you buy something or you want to watch it and it's like this is so
Yep.
bad. You turn it off. I want to get my money's worth, so I will force myself to watch the rest of that thing,
I'll usually do it
even if
with
it's
a
just
movie
yeah,
because it's like it's 2 hours or something. Like
yeah.
but TV shows can be a little bit tougher. Like I stopped Walking Dead almost at the end of I think they had like 2 episodes left of season 4 and I was like I'm done with this.
Well,
And
I was
then
pissed when the wife what happened to Lori. I was pissed about that. They have never read the comic book. I was like, what the heck? Did all this to get her back? Does to have this happen? And then like this is bullshit. And then come back to season 7.
I
It
I
was
didn't
on
mind
didn't
TV.
mind.
I,
I didn't mind Lori dying.
I didn't mind that either. It was just
T
that the
Dog was the one I was really upset about. I cared more about T Dog.
I just cared about the shitty writing. Like if you can kill characters off, but just do it in a like make it matter, make it, whether I like it or dislike it, like that's fine. It's a horror TV show, so not everything should be
Uh,
feel good. I
to
just
me, it
when the
picked up with
characters act
Negan.
stupid and I just hate the characters and I want them to die and I was just like, why am I watching this? But at the same
Well, that's
time, it went on like how many seasons? Like 8, 9 seasons?
I feel like
Um
10
11 seasons.
11 seasons. So I'm like
plus spinoffs.
there's the part of me that goes, but I kind of still want to know what happened because I was invested in like the plot, but
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So, but I'm like, do I really want to sit through 7 more seasons of this? Like a movie, I'll sit through because I can see it through and
I
just be
will
like,
say
okay,
this: it's better than Flash.
well, okay.
If you can sit through Flash with your friend and watching it, I
Well,
think you
it's
can
it's
get
because
through.
we watch it with his kids, and I get the
Doesn't make it as
vicarious
kids or no
enjoyment.
kids. You're still watching it though. So
Yes,
it doesn't just because you're watching because the kids doesn't make it exactly make the show improve. But I mean,
no, it doesn't.
if you
But
can,
sometimes
if
when
you
you're
can,
doing when you do things with loved ones, sometimes you make compromises, right? Rather than just be like, well, you just go do it by yourself. Like I watch it, I tolerate it because it's like a bonding time and it's something that they like. So it's like whatever, I'll sit through it. I would not watch it on my own.
I'm the complete opposite. I can like get watches you're on your own.
So
It's like you enjoy it. That's all that matters.
well, we only have like one show that we watch, and so
It should be the
if
rookie.
no, if we like watch like all these different shows, then it'd be like okay, I'm gonna sit this one out. But there's like dinner time and watch a show, and so like I can sit through an hour or 2 of television. Like it's no biggie. But it is getting bad. We haven't watched Flash in a while. It's one of those things that we put on only when there's like nothing else. Right? It's like I'll put an
Yeah.
episode of Flash on.
So I sat through I said The Walking Dead. For me, seasons picked up is after the whole governor scene. Like when it got to actually like Negan's the savior stuff. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just a charismatic actor. I love it, and he carried the show for me. Now, there was a Negan war, and it did feel like it dragged on for certain things. There were certain characters I still didn't like, but at the end, it kind of paid off. And I love the spinoff right now with Walking Dead with Negan and Maggie.
Mm,
That's been pretty cool. And then the one we just had with Daryl in France was really cool too as well.
Yeah. So I'm just like I said, I just was at that point where
It's like getting a DLC. Like the spinoffs are like getting DLCs for a game. I like
yeah,
them.
but if you hate the game, then why do you care about the DLC? Like,
Eh,
and
sometimes
that's where
DLC,
I'm at. Like
yeah.
Walking Dead just got to the point where it was insulting my intelligence. And I guess it bothered me more too because I never got invested in the Flash. Whereas Walking Dead, like that first season of Walking Dead was fantastic. Second season was good, and I was invested in it.
Well,
And
what
when
made
you
it
care about, at least for me, when I care about something, to watch it go bad is painful. Like Flash, I was never
what
investigated, so I just like sit back and I just whatever, it's there. I don't care.
I feel like just like Flash with Walking Dead, when they started getting the bigger group, the team stuff, that's when it made it piss me off. Because I love the close knit Walking Dead when they're before they even get to the prison, how they're all just trying to like survive and they're
Mm-hmm.
getting picked off one by one. I love that. That was
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
But once you get a thing where they're just the point where the zombies became less of a threat and it was the people, I was like, this is BS. The zombies should still be an equal amount of threat, and the villain you should be having to face both of them at the same time. Not where it's like, well, now we know that to do how to get past the zombies, how to herd them. Like, no. So, like I said, towards The Walking Dead, the zombies started to evolve a little bit, started to change a little bit. Now, it was a little too late for some people, sure. I would have been better in the series if the zombies would have been like, doing more things. But in Walking Dead with France, the zombies, but over there are they're a different version of zombie, and they have acid blood. So if they kill them and get the blood on you, it can kill you. So I like that.
Anyways,
But if you want to watch a good show, watch Z Nation. Fun. From the creators of Sharknado.
Oh, there you go. Sharknado. Zach, final thing, you want to plug anything before we go?
Not really. I don't know if I have anything to plug. Yeah, check out the Geeky Puppet Show tomorrow night. I got that.
I'm gonna plug Demon Slayer. Been going through that anime slowly, but
Oh,
Demon Slayer is freaking phenomenal. I think I
yep.
might be at a point where I'm might be overtaking My Hero Academia for me.
Tasty.
One day you'll start One Piece and you'll be like, "Why did I bother with all these lesser anime?"
Speaking of anime, I've been watching the remake of not Yu Yu Hakusho, but the
Kenshin?
Rurouni Kenshin. Phenomenal. Different voice acting. They changed it a little bit. The main guy, the writer, creator, is still involved in it. They changed things, summarized things a little more. Took out less of the humor, so it's a little more serious. But it's a phenomenal thing. I love it, and it takes place during the late 1800s over in Japan.
Where can you see it?
Anime? Yeah, where can you watch it? Is it on Crunchyroll or
It's on Crunchyroll.
Netflix?
It's on Crunchyroll.
Y'all over here watching anime, and I'm over here finally getting started watching Yellowstone.
Well,
Dude,
you just started watching Reachers too.
I want to watch Yellowstone, but I can't. It's not streaming anywhere.
I'm watching it on Peacock. It's not. I don't have the Paramount subscription. I thought I did.
It's not on
Wouldn't be
Paramount.
Which is weird because that's where it started.
I know. I think it's
They have
because
all the
they.
spinoffs over there, but
I think that's because they licensed it before the Paramount did their streaming. Because you can get all of the spin-off shows on Paramount.
Yes.
But you can't get the original Yellowstone. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to watch the spin-off, so I watch Yellowstone. But
Yeah,
maybe I
I'm
should
watching
because
it
they do take place
Peacock.
before. Maybe I should.
Yes. So the 1883 and 1923 or 1888. Yeah, those are both. Yeah, they're both prequel series.
So maybe I should.
1883 is the first one. I think it only had one season too, so that one should be a pretty quick one. I hadn't gotten to that point yet. I'm only in season 2 of Yellowstone proper.
All right.
It's interesting. It's got actors. I'm like, I know you from somewhere. Neil McDonough is in it, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors.
So the new Rurouni Kenshin is on Crunchyroll, or if you have Hulu, you can watch the original 3 seasons. They came out in 1996.
Screw Hulu.
Mr. Sulu? Oh, Hulu.
No, don't screw Sulu. No.
Oh my.
Yeah. I'll see if I don't know about is it on the premium Crunchyroll or is it probably on the premium Crunchyroll if it's a new anime.
Whatever. It's a brand new series. It came out last year.
Right. But like
I
Crunchyroll,
liked
like
it.
shows some animes that you don't have to be a subscriber, and then there's some of the animes you have to pay for the premium subscription.
It's premium. Yeah, it's premium. Yeah.
Ash, I'm gonna get you in touch with my people that know all of the Sail the High Sea sites.
Well, I could get them into that, but did they sell like premium accounts? If I want to give Ash an account, gift him one. Can they? Do they have like another for Netflix? They have those cards you give people. Get
Yeah,
Ash
Possibly.
cards.
for Netflix. Yeah, a Prime. There are some you can buy. You can buy it through the store.
I just
Like-
used my sister's account.
Ash can't do that.
Ash cannot do that. That's true. She's used up all the spots. My sister pimps out slots on streaming sites like like a pimp does hookers. It's like, okay, I've got 5. Who wants one?
Yep.
Yeah, because I have been interested in Rurouni Kenshin, but kind of like One Piece, that RDV has the issue with. Like I had a difficulty getting past like the animation. I'm like, ah. So I'm like, now they have a new series. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get into this one. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're out of here. Thanks for watching. Go watch Geeky Puppets tomorrow. Read good comics and have a good night.
And don't get eliminated.